Chapter 2754. The other experts of the Ice Soul clan were also overjoyed. Some of them even had tears in their eyes. The Ice Soul heart was the most precious treasure of the Ice Soul clan. It was of great significance to the Ice Soul clan. With the Ice Soul heart, the Ice Soul clan would be able to produce more geniuses. The Ice Soul clan had a chance to surpass the Flaming clan and become the strongest overlord in the Qin Tian galaxy. Bing Qing closed the jade box and put it away. Let's go back to the Ice Soul planet. The clan leader and the supreme elders will be very happy if they know about this. An expert of the Ice Soul clan said. Everyone immediately set off for the Ice Soul planet. After a while, they arrived at the Ice Soul planet. When they returned to the Ice Soul planet, the entire planet was in a celebratory mood. The reason for that was because before they returned, the news regarding the Ice Jade Chilling Heart had already reached them. That night, the Ice Soul clan held a large banquet to celebrate the Ice Soul Heart's return from the ancestral land. Lu Ming and the others were invited to the banquet. The clan leader of the Ice Soul clan attended the banquet in person. A large hall was filled with people. The clan leader of the Ice Soul clan was sitting at the head of the table. Beside him were some other experts of the Ice Soul clan. Lu Ming and the others were sitting at the head of the table. He saw Bing Qing in the crowd. Father, it's all thanks to brother Lu Ming from the Kongxian school that we were able to get the Ice Soul heart. If it weren't for brother Lu, we wouldn't have been able to get it back. Bing Qing said loudly not long after the banquet started. Yes, I roughly know what happened this time. I never imagined that the Kongxian sect would produce such a genius. This is truly worthy of celebration. The clan leader said with a smile. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, you've helped us get the Ice Soul heart back. You've done us a great favor. If you need anything, just tell us. We'll try our best to satisfy you. Clan leader, can you give me some cold moon stones? Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Although he already had 6 cold moon stones, the more cold moon stones he had, the better it would be for him to cultivate the frost shackles. Cold moon stone? How many pieces do you need? Asked the matriarch of the Ice Soul clan. Give me 8 or 10 yuan, and that'll do. Lu Ming chuckled. What? 8 or 10 yuan? The patriarch of the Ice Soul clan and the other experts of the Ice Soul clan looked at each other and smiled helplessly. Lu Ming, to tell you the truth, there aren't many cold moon stones left in the Ice Soul clan. Even if we search the entire clan, I'm afraid we won't be able to find more than 10. The chief of the Ice Soul clan smiled bitterly. So little? Lu Ming was very surprised. Even the entire Ice Soul clan couldn't afford 8 or 10 of them. Now that he had gotten 6 of them, he had made a fortune. How about this? As the patriarch, I'll give you 2 cold moon stones from the Ice Soul clan's treasury. The patriarch of the Ice Soul clan said. Then, he waved his hand and ordered someone to bring the cold moon stones. Thank you, patriarch. Lu Ming thanked the patriarch of the Ice Soul clan. Cold moon stones were very rare. It was good enough that he could get 2 more. Including the 6 from before, he had a total of 8 cold moon stones. The remaining 8 chains of the frost shackles were exactly 1 cold moon stone each. Soon, the patriarch of the Ice Soul clan returned with the cold moon stones. When the patriarch of the Ice Soul clan took out the cold moon stones, 2 moon-like stones appeared. They were exactly the same as the ones Lu Ming had obtained. Lu Ming, these 2 cold moon stones are for you. The patriarch of the Ice Soul clan waved his hand and the 2 cold moon stones flew to Lu Ming. Lu Ming quickly took them and put them away. Also, take this golden jade token. Then, the patriarch of the Ice Soul clan took out a golden jade token and waved his hand. The golden jade token flew to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took the golden jade token. It was cold to the touch, and a chill spread out. This golden jade medallion represents the highest status of the Icy Soul Clan's guest elder. In the future, you can use this golden jade medallion to seek help from the Icy Soul Clan wherever you go. The patriarch of the Ice Soul Clan said. Thank you, patriarch. Lu Ming put the golden jade token away happily. This golden jade token could be used to seek help from the Ice Soul Clan. Its value was very high. It could be very useful at critical times. Many people looked at him with envy. The banquet ended and everyone dispersed. Lu Ming and the others stayed on the Ice Soul planet for 3 more days. After 3 days, they bade farewell and returned to the Kongxian school. They took the teleportation formation and headed to the Kongxian school. After a while, they returned to the Kongxian school. After returning to the Kongxian school, they rushed to the mission hall to submit the mission and exchange for the reward. Lu Ming, thank you for saving us this time. On the way, the long-faced young man suddenly stopped and solemnly cupped his fists to Lu Ming to express his gratitude. As the team leader this time, it's my responsibility to keep you alive. You don't have to thank me. Lu Ming said lightly. No, if it weren't for you this time, I would have been dead, let alone completing the mission and exchanging the points. You saved my life, and I, Lu Chang, am a person who knows how to repay kindness. From now on, if you have any orders, no matter if it's water or fire, I won't refuse. Lu Chang bowed again and cupped his fists. This time, he was truly convinced by Lu Ming. When he first met Lu Ming and learned that Lu Ming was their team leader, he was very unconvinced and wanted to challenge Lu Ming to make Lu Ming scram. However, along the way, the talent and combatability that Lu Ming had displayed were simply miracles. He was deeply impressed by Lu Ming. He planned to follow Lu Ming in the future. Lu Chang, now you know how strong my boss is. If you follow my boss, you'll have benefits in the future. And Hai grinned. I, Xiaofan, am willing to follow boss Lu Ming in the future. I won't refuse even if I have to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a pot of boiling oil. The other young man was even more direct, directly calling Lu Ming boss. You want to follow me? Lu Ming's heart moved as he asked. Yes. Lu Chang, Xiaofan, and An Hai hurriedly nodded. You haven't joined any of the other Sacred Sun factions before? Lu Ming asked. No, I don't belong to any faction. Me neither. An Hai and Xiaofan both shook their heads. I used to be part of the Floating Light faction, but I'm willing to leave the Floating Light faction and follow you, boss. Lu Chang said. After this incident, Lu Chang had a feeling that Lu Ming's talent was far above the other Sacred Sons and that he might be able to defeat all the other Sacred Sons and Sacred Daughters in the future and dominate the Kongxian school. He obviously wanted to join such a prodigy as soon as possible. Okay, then you can follow me. However, you have to swear on your life origin that you'll sincerely join me. Otherwise, I won't accept you. Lu Ming said. He did indeed need some helpers in the Kongxian school. This way, it would be more convenient for him to do some things. For example, gathering information. Chapter 2755. Okay, I swear, An Hai, Lu Chang, and Xiaofan all swore on their life origins. Lu Chang, you don't need to leave the Floating Light faction for now. Help me gather information. If there's any news from the Floating Light faction, you can inform me. Lu Ming said. Yes. Lu Chang nodded. Let's go and exchange for our rewards. Lu Ming said. Not long after, they came to the mission hall and submitted their missions. Each of them received 20,000 points. After that, Lu Ming gave them some instructions and left. After the crowd dispersed, Lu Ming immediately went to the Divine Vein Tower as he had something to do. Ever since he broke through to the true God realm, he felt that the portrait of Jingyu in his sea of consciousness had changed. He didn't have time to observe it before. After entering the Divine Vein Tower, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. With a thought, Jingyu's portrait flew out from his forehead and floated in the air. Next, Lu Ming circulated his divine power and poured it into Jingyu's portrait. When Lu Ming poured his divine power into Jingyu's portrait, it started to shine. Then, Jingyu's portrait seemed to come alive. It took a step out of the portrait and floated in the air. Senior Jingyu, Lu Ming was extremely surprised. Jingyu died long ago. I'm just a remnant imprint. I'll tell you some things, but I'm also going to vanish. The Jingyu imprint sighed. Senior, what do you want me to do? Lu Ming asked. He had sworn on his life origin in front of White Fang that he would help Jingyu complete his task. However, he didn't know what it was. Your cultivation was too weak before. Now that you've reached the true God realm, I'll tell you everything. Jingyu imprint said. At this point, a complicated look appeared in his eyes, as if he was reminiscing. After a while, he began to speak in detail. Do you know about the Taishu dynasty? Jingyu's remnant imprint asked first. I don't know. Lu Ming shook his head. Oh, then where are you now? What star zone is it called? Jingyu imprint asked. This place is called the Qin Tian Starfield, Lu Ming answered. So it's in the Qin Tian Starfield, and you just came out of the small world not long ago. No wonder you haven't heard of it. Jingyu imprint whispered and continued, the chaotic universe is vast and boundless. Small worlds are undoubtedly the smallest. Many experts from small worlds will appear on some life planets when they come to the chaotic universe. When countless planets with life gather together, they form a galaxy. When the many galaxies gather together, they form a star field. The distance between different star fields is very far. Dominating a certain star field is a star field level force. However, above the star field level forces, there are still the universe level forces. The universe level forces usually occupy many star fields and dominate an area. They are extremely powerful and prosperous. The Jingyu imprint explained, and Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Cosmic realm level forces ruled over a cosmic realm. Above the star field level forces, there was actually a universe level force. One force could occupy so many star fields. How strong was that force? The Taishu dynasty is a universe level force. It occupies many star fields. If I remember correctly, one of the most remote star fields is the Qin Tian star field. Jingyu imprint said. The Qin Tian star field is a star field under the Taishu dynasty? And it's just a very remote star field? Lu Ming was even more surprised. Now, you should have a rough idea of the Taishu sacred court strength. Now, let's talk about me. I was originally a prince of the Taishu sacred court. I was ranked 18th. I was the 18th prince, Jingyu imprint immediately explained in detail. Jingyu, the 18th prince of the Taishu dynasty, was extremely talented and had unparalleled talent. Even in the history of the Taishu dynasty, he was rare. At a young age, he became a top expert of the Taishu dynasty. Such talent naturally attracted the jealousy of others. That was the other princes, and even the crown prince. Because at that time, there were many voices in the Taishu dynasty, calling for Jingyu to take over the Taishu dynasty in the future. In that way, he would be able to bring the Taishu dynasty to greater prosperity. However, one day, a shocking news came out. The 18th prince, Jingyu, had defiled the current imperial concubine. The imperial concubine was the most beloved concubine of the Taishu Saint Emperor. When the news came out, the world was in an uproar. Later, Jingyu was imprisoned for committing a heinous crime. He was even abolished of his cultivation and sentenced to death. Just like that, a genius prince of the Taishu dynasty fell. As for his family, they were either killed or imprisoned. From then on, they became history. Lu Ming finally knew that Huangquan Mountain, Baiya, and the others in the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm were the people who followed Jingyu back then. Back then, I was framed. Someone joined forces with the imperial concubine to frame me. Speaking of this, Jingyu Imprint's eyes were filled with strong unwillingness and resentment. Who was it that framed you? Lu Ming asked. I don't know. Maybe it was the crown prince or other princes. Jingyu shook his head and said, what I want you to do is to go to the Taishu dynasty and find out who framed me. Avenge me and clear my name. But my strength, Lu Ming smiled bitterly. The Taishu dynasty was a universe-level force. Any expert from the Taishu dynasty could probably kill him with a breath. How could he avenge Jingyu? Your strength is indeed very weak. With your current cultivation, you can't do anything in the Taishu dynasty. Therefore, there is no time limit for this. It won't be too late to go when you have the strength in the future, Jingyu Imprint said. Jingyu noted it down. Well, do you have any divine skills or secret techniques? Can you give me some to enhance my strength? Lu Ming rolled his eyes and began to ask for benefits. In the future, when he went to the Taishu dynasty, it would be dangerous and risky. How could he not take some benefits now? Unexpectedly, Jingyu Imprint shook his head and said, I've already given you what I should. The Qian Kun Myriad Dao art and the origin ancient word battle are the foundation that will allow you to rise. The other divine skills and secret arts are secondary. Giving you too many won't do you any good. That's all? Lu Ming was depressed. To be honest, it's very difficult to complete my task, so you will need to experience a lot of training along the way. Only then can you help me fulfill my wish. In this world, there are gains and losses. You have obtained the Universe Myriad Dao scripture and the Battle Ancient Origin character, so you naturally have to pay a price. Well, my imprint will disappear soon. I hope you can complete it. Also, don't forget to save White Fang and the others in the future. At this point, the Jing Feather imprint shook for a while, and then burst like a bubble, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 2756. Jingyu's imprint disappeared, and so did the portrait of Jingyu. It turned into a blank piece of paper. Swoosh. Initially, Lu Ming thought that since there was only a piece of white paper left, it would not be of much use. Unexpectedly, this piece of white paper turned into a beam of light and flew back into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, floating above it. Could it be that this portrait is still useful? Lu Ming thought and continued to inject divine power into it, but there was no response. Lu Ming could only give up. With my current cultivation, it's impossible to avenge Jingyu. I'd better cultivate and improve my cultivation as soon as possible. Lu Ming shook his head and put the matter of Jingyu to the back of his mind. He began to cultivate and injected divine power into the measure formula. Now that his cultivation had improved greatly, he naturally needed to inject more divine power. Although the divine power that he had injected in the Void God realm was not used up, it was not enough for him now. After a while, Lu Ming felt that he had stored enough divine power and left the Divine Vein Tower. It's time to settle the matter of the chaotic galaxy. A murderous intent flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. It's time to get rid of the Serene Hall and the Walkabout sect. It's time to take back the primordial realm. However, before returning to the chaotic galaxy, Lu Ming planned to exchange for a starry sky battleship. He now had tens of thousands of points, which was enough to exchange for a better starry sky battleship. Immediately, Lu Ming went to the inner sect area, where he could exchange for treasures. There was a dazzling array of treasures. Divine weapons, divine pills, various materials, starry sky battleships, etc., could all be exchanged with points. Starry Sky battleships were very expensive. The Starry Sky battleships of the righteous army were of the lowest level, so they were not particularly expensive. The better Starry Sky battleships were very expensive. Lu Ming walked around and found that there were all kinds of Starry Sky battleships. Some could be exchanged for as little as 100 points. Don't underestimate 100 points. If converted into divine gems, it would be 1 million divine gems. The Starry Sky battleships of the righteous army were of this level. Lu Ming naturally didn't care about Starry Sky battleships of this level. 100 points, 500 points, 1,000 points, 5,000 points. The highest Starry Sky battleship required 1 million points to exchange for, causing Lu Ming to stare blankly at it. In the end, Lu Ming redeemed a Starry Sky battleship worth 5,000 points. Its grade was much higher than a 100-point battleship. In addition, Lu Ming also redeemed 2 Starry Sky battleships worth 500 points each. He planned to bring them back for Ancestral Gragon and the others. In addition, Lu Ming also exchanged for some divine pills. These divine pills were extremely useful for those below the empty god realm as they could increase their cultivation level quickly. These pills were prepared for his parents, Autumn Moon and his disciples. In the end, Lu Ming spent a total of 10,000 points. After everything was ready, Lu Ming stepped on the transmission array and headed towards the chaotic astral river. After spending more than a month, Lu Ming returned to Yunfeng City in Yunfeng Pavilion. You want to go to the Jingtian army? Beside the teleportation array, an old man in charge of managing the teleportation array looked at Lu Ming in surprise. Yes, I want to go to the Jingtian army. Is there a problem? Lu Ming asked. I'm afraid you can't go to the Jingtian army now. The old man said. Can't go? Why? Lu Ming asked again. He had a bad feeling in his heart. The Jingtian army is fighting a war. The entire teleportation route of the Jingtian army has been blocked, so you can't teleport in. The old man said. What? Fighting a war? Senior, what's going on? Lu Ming was shocked. It said that Yuluo Hall, Walkabout Sect, and a few other forces have joined forces to besiege the Jingtian army. The Jingtian army has been forced to retreat, and many planets with life have been occupied. Now, only the Jingtian planet is still struggling to hold on. As for what's going on, I don't know. The old man said. Yuluo Hall, Walkabout Sect, Lu Ming emitted a cold killing intent, and a terrifying aura spread out. True. True God, feeling Lu Ming's aura, the old man shuddered and showed a shocked expression. He didn't expect that Lu Ming, who was so young, was a true god. Senior, I want to go to the planet closest to the Jingtian army. Lu Ming said. Okay. The force closest to the Jingtian army is the Wanghai family. I'll send you to one of their planets immediately. The old man nodded repeatedly. Reaching the true god realm at such a young age meant that he was most likely a genius of some large force. He didn't dare to be negligent. Lu Ming stepped onto the teleportation array and arrived at one of the Wanghai family's planets. Then, he took out his interstellar battleship. The interstellar battleship turned into a beam of light and rushed toward the Jingtian planet at an astonishing speed. What's that? What an amazing speed! That's an interstellar battleship. My God, what level of interstellar battleship is it? Some people widened their eyes in shock when they saw Lu Ming's interstellar battleship. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming's interstellar battleship was far away. The battle situation on the Jingtian planet was even more intense than Lu Ming had imagined. The majority of the Jingtian planet's territory had already been breached, and only the Jingtian army's headquarters remained. Almost everyone else had retreated to the Jingtian army's headquarters, such as Ancestral Gragon and the others. At this moment, Countless armies had surrounded the Zhengtian army's headquarters so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. The Zhengtian army's headquarters had activated the mountain guarding formation to block the attacks from outside. Attack! Break the Zhengtian army's formation. Up in the air, the walkabout sect master, Xiaofan, was giving orders. Beside him was the secluded hall master, Kang Ji, and several other faction masters. Boom! 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 The experts of several factions joined hands and unleashed all sorts of attacks at the Zhengtian army. The Zhengtian army's formation constantly shook, as if it would break apart at any moment. This time, the Zhengtian army will definitely be destroyed. Kang Ji's eyes shone with excitement. The technique ancestor had always been a thorn in his side, opposing him for so many years. This time, he would definitely eliminate the technique ancestor. His gaze involuntarily turned in a certain direction. There was a luxurious armchair floating in the air. A youth in embroidered robes sat in the armchair. Several other youths stood beside the armchair. Among them were Xiaofan's two sons, Xiaofan and Xiao. His son, Kang Long, was also beside them. They all stood respectfully beside the youth in embroidered robes. Kang Ji's eyes shone with respect as he looked at the youth in embroidered robes. This was because the youth in embroidered robes was an inner disciple of the Mystic Academy, one of the three overlords of the Qin Tian star field. Moreover, he was a genius. Such a person's status was far from what he could compare to. This time, Xiaofan and the others had returned to the chaotic astral river with the youth in embroidered robes. The other factions immediately joined forces with the walkabout sect and secluded hall to attack the Zhengtian army. Chapter 2757. Being an inner disciple of the Mystic Academy was no small matter. Xiaofan was also lucky to have entered the Mystic Academy and joined a faction. That was how he got to know the inner disciples of the Mystic Academy. His own cultivation was still far from reaching the true God realm. So what if Lu Ming was talented? So what if he got first place in the Qin Tian 13 sect's assessment? He had foolishly joined the Kongxian sect. How could his status compare to that of an inner disciple of the hybrid demon academy? Therefore, as soon as the inner disciples of the Mystic Academy arrived, several factions that had originally planned to remain neutral immediately joined forces with them to attack the Just Sky army. The alliance of several factions didn't even need the inner disciples of the Mystic Academy to make a move. They broke into the core of the Just Sky army like a hot knife through butter. Boom! Boom! One attack after another turned into beams of divine light and blasted toward the Just Sky army's protective array. The array trembled and cracks began to appear on it. What should we do? Inside the protective array, the members of the Just Sky army had ugly looks on their faces. At most, we'll fight them to the death. That's right. Killing one is enough. Killing two is worth it. Many people roared and showed expressions that they were ready to die together. In the middle, the ancestor of techniques was silent and didn't speak. In the crowd, Ancestral Gragon, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, the Nine Lives Demonic Cicada, and the others all had solemn expressions. I didn't expect that we would still die in the hands of the Serene Palace after escaping from the Heaven Realm. Is this fate? Some people sighed and were unwilling to accept it. They had finally defeated the evil god tribe and escaped from the lesser thousand worlds to the primitive universe, but in the end, they still couldn't escape the clutches of the Serene Palace. I hope that Lu Ming can avenge us in the future. Some people sighed. It's hard to say. Among them are the inner disciples of the Mystic Academy, one of the three overlords of the Qin Tian star field. They are too strong. This is not a spirit space in the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm. This is a huge force of the untainted universe. How can Lu Ming defeat them? That's right. I think the people from the Mystic Academy will deal with Lu Ming later. I'm afraid that Lu Ming can't even protect himself. After all, this isn't a pocket dimension. Some experts from the Heaven Realm were discussing helplessly. In the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm, they were considered experts. But in the primitive universe, they were nothing. They could only be considered at the bottom. Although Lu Ming was an unprecedented genius in the primordial realm of the Heaven Realm, it was only a minor kiliacosm after all. Compared to the greater kiliacosm, it was probably nothing. Kacha. Crack. At this moment, cracking sounds could be heard from the grand formation as more and more cracks appeared on it. Finally, with a loud bang, it exploded. The protective mountain array was broken. Prepare to fight. Someone shouted. Don't act rashly. Everyone, get into formation and defend. The ancestor of technique shouted and stopped everyone. Remember, the person they want to kill is me. If I die in battle, you will surrender. Do you understand? The ancestor of technique glanced at the people of the righteous army. No, we would rather die than surrender. That's right. We will never surrender. The people of the righteous army shouted. You, the ancestor of technique, was helpless. Surrender? Hee, that's fine too. We will only kill a few of you. Most of you can surrender as long as you behave in the future. Situ Haonan, the sect master of the Walkabout sect, sneered. He took the lead and stepped forward. Beside him, Kong Ji and the others followed. Don't move. This is my order. The ancestor of technique ordered as his gaze became sharp. Many people's expressions changed as they gritted their teeth and lowered their heads. Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, I'll fight with you. Let's see which one of you can do anything to me. Then, the ancestor of technique stepped into the air alone. A battle sword appeared in his hand, and his battle intent surged. The ancestor of technique faced the army of the Walkabout sect, secluded hall, and the others alone. Fa Ming, do you think you can fight with so many of us with just a mid-grade 7th grade battle sword? Situ Haonan sneered. Who will fight with me? The ancestor of technique roared as his battle intent swept towards Situ Haonan and the others. Situ Haonan and the others turned their gazes, but no one made a move. They knew how powerful the ancestor of technique was, especially Situ Haonan, Kong Ji, and Mo Kansas. They had all fought with the ancestor of technique before, so they naturally wouldn't make the first move. Humph, what are you being arrogant for? I'll fight with you. Beside Kong Ji, there was a burly man in blood-red armor. He carried a blood-red battle saber and stepped out. His body exuded a powerful aura. This burly man was from another faction, the Grand Elder of the Blood-Red Gang. He was a 4th-level true god and his battle strength wasn't below Situ Haonan and the others. He had never fought with the ancestor of technique before, so he naturally wasn't afraid of him. Seeing this person make a move, Situ Haonan and the others didn't stop him. They could use this person to find out more about the ancestor of technique. Make your move. I'll give you a chance to make your move. The ancestor of technique looked indifferently at the Grand Elder of the Blood-Red Gang. Arrogant. You're courting death. The Grand Elder of the Blood-Red Gang roared as a violent divine power burst out. The battle sword in his hand whistled as it slashed towards the ancestor of technique. Swoosh. The ancestor of technique also slashed out with his sword. Clang. The sword and saber collided, and a loud explosion erupted. Then, a figure retreated. It was the Grand Elder of the Blood-Red Gang. He couldn't defeat the ancestor of technique in the first move and was forced to retreat. Kill. The ancestor of technique roared as his body turned into a beam of light and charged towards the Grand Elder of the Blood-Red Gang. Sword light pierced through the air, one after another. Peak of the 3rd grade of the divine skill, you, the Grand Elder of the Blood Red Gang was shocked. The Ancestor of Technique's divine skill was already at the peak of the 3rd grade. With the addition of a level 7 middle grade divine weapon, even if the Ancestor of Technique was only a level 3 true god, his combat strength was far above his. He retreated, wanting to escape. However, the Ancestor of Technique wouldn't let him escape. After slashing out dozens of times, the Grand Elder was killed on the spot. So powerful. Many people were shocked. Damn it! The leader of the Blood Red Gang roared furiously. His heart ached so much that he wanted to die. There were only 3 level 4 true gods in the Blood Red Gang. Now that one of them had died, he couldn't wait to tear the Ancestor of Technique into pieces. Who else wants to fight? The Ancestor of Technique's aura was wild as he looked around. How dare you kill the Grand Elder of the Blood Red Gang? You're courting death. The leader of the Blood Red Gang roared as he charged out like a mad lion. A terrifying aura emanated from his body. Level 5 True God. This was the cultivation of the leader of the Blood Red Gang. His cultivation was stronger than Xiaofan, Kang Ji, and the others. The Blood Red Gang's power was originally above the Yuluo Hall, Walkabout Sect, and the Just Sky Army. This time, he wanted to curry favor with the inner disciples of the Mystic Academy, which was why he attacked the Just Sky Army. Level 5 True God? Come on. The Ancestor of Technique's eyes were filled with a strong battle intent. Kill. The leader of the Blood Red Gang roared as he slashed out with his war blade. In an instant, dozens of blade lights were slashed towards the Ancestor of Technique's vital points. Chapter 2758. Facing the Blood Red Club's leader's attack, the Ancestor of Techniques was not afraid at all. He held his sword and charged forward. The sword whistled and the sword light shot into the sky, slashing towards the Blood Red Club's leader. Clang! Clang! In the blink of an eye, dozens of explosions erupted between the two of them. Then, a figure frantically retreated. It was the Ancestor of Techniques. Facing the leader of the Blood Red Club, who was a level 5 true god, the Ancestor of Techniques was suppressed. Humph, no matter how strong he is, he's going to die this time. The secluded hall master said coldly. Of course. The outcome this time has already been decided. It can't be changed. Xiaofan said confidently. Kill. The Blood Red Club's leader had gained the upper hand with this attack. Naturally, he would not miss this opportunity and started to attack the Ancestor of Techniques furiously. A 5th stage true god is only a so-so. The Ancestor of Techniques' long hair fluttered in the wind. His aura was wild, and his battle intent reached its peak. His divine power exploded, and instead of retreating, he charged at the Blood Red President. Clang! The two of them clashed once again. However, this time, the aura of the Ancestor of Techniques rose sharply. His battle sword shone with a dazzling light. He actually managed to suppress the Blood Red Guild Master. Whoosh! The Blood Red Guild leader's body trembled violently as he was sent flying like a cannonball. 4th stage of True God. The Blood Red Guild leader roared. What? 4th stage of the True God realm. Fa Ming broke through to the 4th stage of the True God realm. How can his breakthrough speed be so fast? Damn it! Kang Ji, Xiaofan, and the others roared in shock. The strength of the Ancestor of Techniques was incomparably strong. If he was a level 3 true god, he naturally wouldn't be a match for the Blood Red President. However, it was different now that he had broken through to the level 4 true god realm. Whoosh! The Ancestor of Techniques became one with his sword. He turned into a dazzling sword light and charged towards the Blood Red Guild Master. The Blood Red Guild leader hollered in rage. He used all of his strength to fight against the Ancestor of Techniques. But in just a few moves, he was completely suppressed. He was no match for the ancestor of techniques. He retreated and blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. "Come and help me, come and help me!" The blood-red guild leader roared. He was really afraid. If this continued, he might be killed by the ancestor of techniques. Let's attack together. Now is the time for war. When two armies fight, there's no need to follow the rules. Let's attack together and kill him. That's right, let's attack together. Kang Ji and Situ Haonan roared. They were completely shameless. After those words were spoken, silhouettes after silhouettes stepped out and headed towards the ancestor of technique. Kang Ji, Mo Kan, Situ Haonan, there were a total of 9 experts and all of them were at the 4th stage of the True God realm. Including the Blood-Red Guild Master, there were a total of 10 people. Boom! 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 The 10 powerhouses joined hands and unleashed a terrifying attack towards the ancestor of techniques. Facing the combined attacks of so many elites, the ancestor of technique did not dare to be careless. He fought back with all his might, and the two sides engaged in an intense battle. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. However, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. The ancestor of technique was alone after all. Against the attacks of the 10 powerhouses, he slowly fell into a disadvantage. Despicable, a bunch of despicable and shameless people. So many people are besieging the general. The righteous army's members all roared furiously. Unfortunately, none of them could interfere in such a huge battle. After all, the righteous Sky Army had only been established for a short period of time, and they didn't have a 4th stage True God. In the past, they had completely relied on the ancestor of techniques alone. Therefore, they could only watch from the sidelines. If they went up, they would only get in the way and distract the ancestor of techniques. Bang! The ancestor of technique was careless and was struck by a palm strike. His body was knocked back and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Fa Ming, die. Die for me. Kang Ji roared ferociously and took the opportunity to attack the ancestor of technique. He wanted to kill the ancestor of technique. Kang Ji, you want to kill me? I'm afraid you're still far from it. Sword body technique. The ancestor of technique roared. Boundless sword chi suddenly burst out from his body. His entire body seemed to have turned into a peerless divine sword. Kang! A ray of sword chi shot out from the ancestor of technique's battle sword and slashed towards Kang Ji. The terrifying power caused Kang Ji's face to change color. Kang Ji tried his best to block it, but when the ray of sword chi slashed through, Kang Ji's defense instantly shattered. He screamed out in pain and was sent flying. A half-meter-long sword wound appeared on his body, almost splitting him into 2 halves. Secret technique, you actually cultivated a secret technique. Kang Ji roared out in shock. The others were also shocked. There were still some ordinary secret techniques in the chaotic astral river. However, there were very few secret techniques that could increase one's battle strength in the chaotic astral river. The ancestor of technique obviously cultivated a secret technique that could increase one's battle strength. Interesting, this secret technique, I want it. The eyes of the hybrid demon academy inner sect disciple, who had been sitting listlessly on the armchair, lit up slightly at this moment, revealing a trace of greed. Kill! The ancestor of technique roared. The sword chi on his body became brighter and brighter as he charged towards Kang Ji and the others. He had indeed cultivated a secret technique, the sword body technique. Once he unleashed it, the power of his sword could increase by 50%. At the crucial moment, the power of his sword could increase by 50%. This was already extremely shocking. Let's attack together, let's attack together. Kang Ji was shocked. He did not dare to fight back. He retreated while shouting. The others all charged towards the ancestor of technique. Die! The ancestor of technique's eyes were filled with shocking killing intent. He slashed out more than 10 rays of sword chi and forced the experts who were surrounding him to retreat. Then, he stared at one of them and attacked fiercely. That person was shocked and frantically tried to block. However, he was only a level 4 true god. How could he block the ancestor of technique's attacks? After a few moves, he was severely injured. Die! The ancestor of technique slashed down and split that person into 2 halves. Another level 4 true god expert was killed. Kill! After killing that person, the ancestor of technique's aura became stronger and he charged towards the others. Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, Mo Kan and the others were shocked. They did not dare to fight back and frantically retreated. Great, the army leader is mighty. The people of the Zhengtian army were excited when they saw the ancestor of technique's power. Kong Ji, give me your life. The ancestor of technique stared at Kong Ji and charged towards him. Among these people, the one that the ancestor of technique wanted to kill the most was Kong Ji. It was Kong Ji who treated the primordial realm of the heaven realm as a farm and used the geniuses of the primordial realm of the heaven realm to refine divine pills. Moreover, most of the demigods that came out of the heaven realm were controlled by Kong Ji. As long as Kong Ji was killed, the restrictions on those people would naturally be lifted. No, Kong Ji was shocked and frantically retreated. His face was filled with fear. You can't escape. The ancestor of technique was unstoppable. He quickly chased after Kong Ji. The distance between the two of them was getting closer and closer. Save me, Kong Ji shouted at Kong Long, father, senior brother, please save my father. Kong Long anxiously looked at the youth in brocade clothes. Don't worry, your father won't die. The youth in brocade clothes said indifferently. After speaking, he stood up and took a step forward. His body was like a bolt of lightning as he charged towards the ancestor of technique. Boom! Before he arrived, the youth in brocade clothes had already struck out with his palm. A pitch-black palm print pressed towards the ancestor of technique. Its power was shocking. Chapter 2759. The youth in embroidered clothes attacked, sending out a pitch-black palm that made the ancestor of technique's heart palpitate. Ignoring Kong Ji, the ancestor of technique slashed out with all his might, sending out a bright sword light. Boom! With a shocking explosion, the ancestor of technique's sword light slashed onto the pitch-black palm. The sword light couldn't take it and collapsed, but the palm didn't stop and continued towards the ancestor of technique. The ancestor of technique used his battle sword to block, but he was sent flying 1,000 miles away. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. What terrifying power! Is this the power of an inner sect disciple of the Mystic Academy? The ancestor of technique thought to himself as helplessness appeared in his eyes. This youth in embroidered clothes was at the 6th level of the true God realm, and he was extremely powerful. He wasn't someone Kong Ji could compare to. Even if they were at the same level, the ancestor of technique wasn't confident he could beat him. General. The people of the righteous army were filled with despair. Powerful, powerful. An inner sect disciple of the Mystic Academy is indeed powerful. Fa Ming, die. Kong Ji roared in his heart, his eyes ferocious. Your strength is not bad. It's not easy to have someone like you in the chaotic Star River. How about this, hand over your secret technique and become my dog in the future. If you work for me, I'll spare your life. The youth in embroidered clothes had his hands behind his back as he looked down on the ancestor of technique. Ha ha ha. The ancestor of technique laughed loudly, then said, if you want to kill me, then kill me. If you want me to kneel and become your dog, keep dreaming. Also, if you want my secret technique, then keep dreaming. Since you refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit, I'll fulfill your wish. The youth in embroidered clothes' expression turned cold. Divine power circulated around his body, and cold-killing intent spread out. At the same time, a pitch-black battle sword appeared in his hand. Whoosh! A terrifying sword light flashed and slashed towards the ancestor of technique. The ancestor of technique used all his power to block with his sword. Dang! The sword light dissipated, and the ancestor of technique grunted as he flew 1,000 miles away. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, and his body was covered in wounds. They were all small sword wounds. Against the youth in embroidered clothes, the ancestor of technique was no match. The difference in cultivation was too great. General. The righteous army turned pale with fright. Kang Ji and the others were naturally overjoyed. You want to fight against senior brother Luo? You really don't know your limits. On the side, Kang Long, Sita Xiao, and the others sneered. I'll ask you one more time. Will you hand over the secret technique or not? The young man in embroidered clothes asked again. If you want to kill me, then kill me. You want my secret technique? Dream on. The ancestor of technique sneered. You're courting death. Dark Devil Divine Blade. The young man in the expensive gown was furious. His godly energy exploded and all the energy in his body converged into a terrifying blade that headed towards the ancestor of technique. This blade, the youth in embroidered clothes already used his full strength under his rage. The power was extremely shocking. An ordinary 5th-level true god would be slain by this blade. The terrifying blade light pressed down on the ancestor of techniques. Facing this blade, the ancestor of techniques would definitely not be able to block it. He would die under this blade. General. The people of the righteous army screamed. So be it. The ancestor of techniques released a long roar, erupting with all of his strength. Even if he was going to die, he was going to die brilliantly, die in battle. He wasn't going to resign himself to death. Rumble. However, right at that moment, intense rumbling sounds came from the depths of the sky. Explosions were unceasingly sounding in the sky. Many people subconsciously raised their heads to look. That's a galactic battleship. What a beautiful galactic battleship. What kind of galactic battleship is that? It actually charged into the atmosphere. Many people had different thoughts in their minds. Normally, when a galactic battleship charged into the atmosphere, it would stop. But this galactic battleship didn't stop. It directly charged towards the righteous army's headquarters at an extremely fast speed. The young man in the expensive gown was also stunned because he realized that the galactic battleship was actually charging towards him. His heart skipped a beat and his blade changed direction. He didn't slash at the ancestor of techniques but at the galactic battleship. Boom! The blade light slashed onto the galactic battleship. The galactic battleship wasn't damaged at all. On the other hand, the young man in the expensive gown was pushed back and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The galactic battleship also stopped in the sky. Many people looked at the galactic battleship, especially the people of the righteous army. Their eyes were filled with hope. It was obvious that the galactic battleship was charging towards the young man in the expensive gown. Could it be that they had reinforcements? Who is it? Get out here. The young man in the expensive gown narrowed his eyes and shouted angrily. Kacha. The door of the galactic battleship opened and a figure walked out. Lu Ming, it's you. The first person to shout was none other than Kang Long. He had been thinking about taking revenge on Lu Ming every day. Naturally, he had a deep impression of Lu Ming and recognized him at a glance. Lu Ming, it's him. Lu Ming is back. How could it be him? Did he bring experts from the Kongxian school? The people of the righteous army were stunned. Then, the hope in their eyes intensified. They hoped that Lu Ming had brought experts from the Kongxian school. If that was the case, they might be saved today. It's that brat, Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, and the others' eyes emitted cold light. Lu Ming, the ancestor of techniques, was also shocked. Brat, so you're Lu Ming. The young man in the expensive gown looked at Lu Ming with cold eyes. He had heard of Lu Ming's name before. Firstly, Lu Ming was the champion of the Qin Tian 13 sex assessment. Also, he had heard about him from Kong Ji, Situ Xiao, and Situ Feng. I'm Lu Ming. It's the real deal. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He looked around and found that everyone was fine. He secretly heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally made it. Who else from the Kongxian school is here? Come out. Today, the Mystic Academy is doing something. Let's see who dares to stop us. The young man in the expensive gown said coldly. He looked past Lu Ming and at the door of the galactic battleship. He didn't put Lu Ming in his eyes. He was just a new disciple of the Kongxian school. He could crush him with one finger. Obviously, he didn't know about Lu Ming's performance in the Ice Soul race. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so arrogant. Don't worry. It's just me today. There's no one else. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He waved his hand and kept the galactic battleship. What? Just Lu Ming alone? Oh no. Hearing this, the faces of the righteous army members changed. They had some hope, but it turned into despair. What could Lu Ming do even if he came alone? He couldn't change the outcome. Oh no. Ancestral Gragon, Titan Longhorn, and the others were also worried. Ha ha ha, this brat came alone. He's courting death. Good. We can get rid of him today. We can kill two birds with one stone. We won't have to find a chance to kill him in the future. Even the heavens are helping us. Kong Ji, Kong Long, Situ Haonan, and the others laughed in their hearts. Originally, Lu Ming had joined the Kongxian school and his talent was incomparably shocking. They were afraid of him. They were thinking of how to kill Lu Ming after destroying the righteous army. They didn't expect that Lu Ming would deliver himself to their doorstep. How could they not be happy? Chapter 2760. Idiot, idiot. Ha ha ha. Kong Ji, Kong Long, Situ Haonan and the others laughed in their hearts as they looked at Lu Ming as if they were looking at an idiot. Lu Ming, leave now, the ancestor of technique shouted. Leave? Where do you think you're going? Since you're here, don't leave. Kong Ji sneered and surrounded Lu Ming with Situ Haonan and the others. They could tell that Lu Ming's interstellar battleship was very advanced. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to block the young man's attack. Hence, they blocked off Lu Ming's escape route to prevent him from escaping with his interstellar battleship. Did I say I'm going to escape? Lu Ming smiled faintly with a calm expression. The ancestor of technique, Ancestral Gragon, and the others were stunned. They knew Lu Ming well and knew that Lu Ming wasn't a reckless person. Could it be that he had something to rely on for him to be so calm? Kid, I'll send you on your way. Grand Elder Mo Ken of the secluded hall shouted and charged towards Lu Ming. The powerful attack of a level 4 true God realm expert was like a tidal wave that crushed towards Lu Ming. Not good. The ancestor of technique, Ancestral Gragon, and the others' hearts raced and their faces changed drastically. Fortunately, Lu Ming's parents, Chiu Yu, and the rest were hidden in a secret place due to their low cultivation levels. They did not witness this scene. Otherwise, they would have been scared to death. Die. Mo Ken sneered. You're the one who's going to die. Lu Ming's cold voice resounded. Suddenly, a spear light shot out and pierced towards Mo Kan at extreme speed. Puff! All of Mo Kan's attacks and defenses were as fragile as tofu in front of Lu Ming. The spear light pierced through Mo Kan's glabella and created a hole. You! Mo Kan's eyes widened and he couldn't believe what had happened. Then, his body fell to the ground with a swoosh and there was no sign of life left. So weak, Lu Ming muttered. Although they were both at the 4th stage True God realm, Mo Kan's battle prowess was much weaker than in Hai, Lu Zhang, and the rest. With Lu Ming's current battle prowess, he could kill Mo Kan with a wave of his hand. How is this possible? Kang Ji, Situ Haonan, and the others' eyes were as round as saucers, as if they had seen a ghost. Lu Ming had actually killed Mo Kan in one move. Hiss, they sucked in a breath of cold air again and again. They felt chills all over their bodies and cold sweat flowed down their backs. They couldn't help but step back and put some distance between them and Lu Ming. They secretly rejoiced that they were not the ones who attacked just now. Otherwise, they would already be dead. Impossible, this is impossible. The people that were the most shocked were naturally Kang Ji, Situ Xiao, and Situ Feng. All of them had fought Lu Ming before, and they were deeply aware of Lu Ming's cultivation and combat strength. But earlier, Lu Ming actually killed Mo Kan casually. That was an existence of level 4 True God. Lu Ming could actually kill an existence of level 4 True God? How many years had it been? Their hearts trembled and they were filled with jealousy. Gulp, the ancestor of techniques, ancestral dragon, Titan Heavenly Bull, and the rest of the righteous Sky Army could not help but swallow their saliva. They were tongue-tied and were completely speechless. Obviously, Lu Ming's move had shocked everyone. Didn't you want to kill me? Why are you retreating so quickly? Lu Ming's gaze swept across Kang Ji and the others as he spoke indifferently. Kang Ji and the others shuddered and Lu Ming's gaze swept across them. Kid, you do have some combat strength. However, you're not arrogant enough in front of me. At this moment, the youth in the brocade robe spoke. Divine power gushed out from his body and he emitted a powerful aura that pressed down on Lu Ming. Whether it's enough or not, we'll know after a battle. However, once we start, you'd better be prepared to be killed. Lu Ming's gaze turned towards the youth in the brocade robe as he spoke coldly. Prepare to be killed by you? What a joke. A mere first-level True God wants to kill me? Die. The youth in the brocade robe's gaze was like a forest. He could not be bothered to talk nonsense with Lu Ming. A terrifying saber light slashed towards Lu Ming, wanting to cut Lu Ming in half. Buzz! The long spear in Lu Ming's hand vibrated as he swept it out. The spear light was as thick as a mountain and it clashed with the youth's saber light. Boom! There was a loud explosion as the saber light shook violently and then collapsed. The spear light did not stop and continued to sweep towards the youth in the brocade robe. How is this possible? The youth in the brocade roared in his heart. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Then, he exploded with all his strength to block Lu Ming's attack. However, when the spear light crushed down, the youth in the brocade robe cried out in pain. His body flew out like a cannonball as he spat out mouthfuls of blood. Many people rubbed their eyes, thinking that they had seen wrongly. The youth in the brocade robe was an inner disciple of the Mystic Academy. The strength that he had just displayed was simply shocking. However, at this moment, he seemed to be unable to withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. Especially Kang Ji, Situ Haonan, and the others. They were almost scared to death. On the other hand, the members of the righteous army were overjoyed. Evildoer, evildoer. The people from the heaven world mumbled to themselves. They were extremely shocked. Previously, Some people thought that although Lu Ming was able to create miracles in the heaven world and was the strongest sky pride in the history of the heaven world, it would be difficult for him to rise in the Eldritch universe. But now, they realized that they were wrong. Monster. Wherever he went, he would be a monster. Lu Ming could create miracles in the heaven world and he could do the same in the Eldritch universe. They knew that Lu Ming's current achievements had far exceeded their imagination. This speed of improvement is really, the ancestor of Dharma's heart was also in turmoil. Lu Ming had only joined the Kongxian school for a few decades. A few decades was nothing to an immortal being. However, Lu Ming's achievements were shocking. You want to kill me with this little bit of strength? Lu Ming's cold voice was heard again as he swept his spear at the youth in the brocade robe. Boom! This time, the youth in the brocade robe was even more miserable. His body was shattered, leaving only his head floating in the air. I'll send you to hell, Lu Ming said coldly. No, no, you can't kill me. I am an inner disciple of the Mystic Academy. If you kill me, you will die too, the youth in the brocade robe shouted. He was hoping that the Mystic Academy would intimidate Lu Ming. An inner disciple of the Mystic Academy? I'm sorry, I killed a bunch of them a while ago. Lu Ming curled his lips. Although the youth in the brocade robe was a level 6 true divine realm, which was one level higher than Lu Shankai, his combat power was weaker than Lu Shankai's. Of course, he was defeated by Lu Ming. Go to hell, sky-piercing. Lu Ming cast the first move of the 3 strikes of annihilation. It broke through the air and a bright spear gleam burst forth, flashing past. Bang! The head of the young man in the brocade robe exploded. His body and soul were completely destroyed. Run! Run! Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, Kong Long, Situ Shao and the others were almost scared to death. Lu Ming was too audacious. He even dared to kill an inner disciple of the Mystic Academy. If they stayed, they would definitely die. Therefore, they didn't dare to stay and ran away. Chapter 2761. How could Lu Ming allow Kong Ji and the others to escape? Kill! Lu Ming shouted coldly as he executed the 9 heavens Garuda art. His figure flickered, and the long spear in his hand pierced out continuously. Whoosh! 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 Spear lights pierced towards Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, the Blood Red Association's president, and the others. No, no, Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, and the others nearly wet their pants. They screamed madly as they tried to escape while defending. However, with their cultivation, they couldn't withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. Spear lights pierced through their bodies, and they died on the spot. Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, the Blood Red Association's president, and the others, a total of 7 to 8 4th-layer True God Realm experts, were killed by Lu Ming in one move. Kill, attack together. The ancestor of technique roared, and his voice reverberated throughout the battlefield. Kill, kill, kill. Kill these bastards. The Righteous Sky Army's members also charged out, attacking the Ethereal Hall and Walkabout Sect's members. Although the Ethereal Hall and Walkabout Sect's forces were stronger than the Righteous Sky Army, they didn't have the slightest bit of morale. They only knew how to flee, and they couldn't contribute to the battle. Instead, they were slaughtered by the Righteous Sky Army's soldiers, and countless were killed. Lu Ming's figure didn't stop as he charged towards Kong Long, Situ Shao, and Situ Feng. Lu Ming, you'll die a horrible death. Ah, Kong Long and the others knew that they wouldn't be able to survive today. They cursed madly, but before they could finish, they were killed by Lu Ming's spear. Then, Lu Ming focused on killing the True God Realm experts of the various forces. Wherever Lu Ming passed, True God Realm experts would be killed. With a sweep of his spear, a large number of experts would explode. Surrender, we surrender. We're willing to surrender. The various forces members shouted and raised their hands in surrender. Those who surrender won't be killed, but you must swear on your life source that you'll be loyal to the righteous Sky Army forever. Lu Ming shouted. I swear, I swear. Immediately, a large number of people swore loyalty to the righteous Heavenly Army. The slaughter stopped. The upper echelons of the Yuluo Hall, the Walkabout sect, and the other sects had either died or surrendered. They all belonged to the righteous army. Many people looked at Lu Ming with complicated gazes. It had only been a short while since Lu Ming had appeared, and the situation that they were bound to lose had been reversed in an instant. Lu Ming, I didn't expect your cultivation to reach this level in just a few decades. The ancestor of techniques flew over and smiled. I was just lucky. Lu Ming said modestly. After that, Lu Ming didn't have anything to do. The ancestor of techniques began to send out people from the righteous army to take over the territories controlled by the Yuluo Hall and the Carefree sect. The righteous army's strength would definitely soar. At this moment, Lu Ming had already met with the ancestral Gragon, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, and the others. The ancestral Gragon, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, and the others naturally had mixed feelings. They knew that Lu Ming, the rising star of the Heaven Domain, had left them far behind. Senior, these things are for you. Lu Ming took out some storage rings and gave them to the ancestral Gragon and the others. There were some cultivation resources that were suitable for the Void God realm to cultivate. Senior, where are my parents? Lu Ming asked. They're at the back. Come with us. The ancestral Gragon and the others brought Lu Ming to the back mountain of the righteous army and saw Lu Yuntian and the others. At the same time, they also saw Autumn Moon, Lu Shenhuang, and the others. In the primitive universe, everyone's cultivation had made great progress. Lu Yuntian and Li Ping's cultivation had reached the Great Emperor realm. As for Autumn Moon, her cultivation had reached the demigod realm. The one who had made the fastest progress was Lu Shenhuang, who had reached the first level of the Void God realm. In just a few decades, Lu Shenhuang had only cultivated on the righteous planet and had not had any fortuitous encounters. Yet, he had already become a god, which greatly exceeded Lu Ming's expectations. Lu Shenhuang's talent was much stronger than he had imagined. Shenhuang, Autumn Moon, come with me. Lu Ming said as he brought Autumn Moon and Lu Shenhuang to the peak of a mountain. There was no one else here. Autumn Moon, Shenhuang, I will now impart a divine technique to you. However, this divine technique is of great importance, so do not leak it out. Other than the two of you cultivating it, you cannot impart it to anyone else. Especially you, Shenhuang. You can't even impart it to Qi. Do you understand? Lu Ming warned seriously. He planned to impart the universe 10,000 Dao technique to Autumn Moon and Lu Shenhuang. With their talent, they would definitely achieve something. It was not impossible for them to cultivate sovereign realm god force in the future. Especially Lu Shenhuang, the chances were very high. However, the universe 10,000 Dao technique was mysterious and unfathomable. If it were to leak out, it would probably cause a huge commotion. At that time, they would be in danger. Yes, father. Yes, young master. Lu Shenhuang and Autumn Moon nodded repeatedly. Then, Lu Ming imparted the universe 10,000 Dao technique to Autumn Moon and Lu Shenhuang. The two of them carefully read it. After reading it, their eyes were filled with deep shock. They were shocked by the profoundness of the universe 10,000 Dao technique. Cultivating the universe myriad Dao arts not only allowed one to cultivate sovereign god force, but also other types of god force, allowing one to control multiple types of god force at the same time. This was simply shocking. They finally understood why Lu Ming had warned them not to leak it out and not to impart it to anyone else. The more people who knew about it, the greater the possibility of it being leaked out. They knew that it was of great importance and secretly decided that they would not impart it to anyone else. "Father, have a good chat with Auntie Autumn Moon. I'll go back to cultivate first," Lu Shenhuang said. Then, he gave Lu Ming a look that said, "You know what I mean." He chuckled and flew into the sky. "This kid," Lu Ming scolded with a smile. "Young master," Autumn Moon held Lu Ming's hand and called out softly. Her eyes were filled with longing. Autumn Moon, this time, you and I will go to the Kongxian school to cultivate," Lu Ming said gently. Autumn Moon's eyes lit up and flashed with joy. She nodded and said, "Okay, okay. Come, let's go for a walk." Lu Ming held Autumn Moon's hand and strolled in the void. It was not until dawn that Lu Ming and Autumn Moon returned to their residence. Long Chen, Huang Li, as soon as he returned, Lu Ming saw Long Chen, Huang Li and the others. After coming to the chaotic universe, Long Chen and the others' cultivation had also increased a lot. All of them had reached the Heavenly Emperor realm. "Long Chen, Huang Li, this is for you." Lu Ming took out a few storage rings and threw them to Long Chen and the others. Long Chen and the others took it, but there was no joy on their faces. It seemed that they had something to say but stopped. "Long Chen, why are you looking for me?" Of course, Lu Ming could tell that something was amiss. "Lu Ming, Huang Ling and Miss Mullins are in trouble," Long Chen sighed and said. "What? What happened?" Lu Ming's face suddenly changed. "It's like this. Some time ago, Miss Mullins and Huang Ling went out to train together. The place they went was a forest in Jingtian Star, but they never came back. We went to look for them later, but we couldn't find any trace of them. We wanted to report to the ancestor of Dharma, but we encountered the attack of Yuluo Palace and Freedom Sect, so this matter was delayed," Long Chen explained. Chapter 2762. How did this happen? Lu Ming's heart tightened and his face turned pale. He was worried that Mullins and Huang Ling would be in danger. Of course, he knew Mulan and Huang Ling's feelings for him. However, the two of them were stubborn people. They must have seen Lu Ming's cultivation increasing and did not want to be left behind. Hence, they went out to train. When did this happen? Xiao Yu also revealed an anxious expression. She had never heard of this matter before. About half a year ago. During this period of time, we have been fighting. We did not tell anyone about it. We were planning to report to the ancestor of techniques after this and let him send experts to search for them, Long Chen said. Which forest did they go to? Lu Ming asked. Perpetual Night Forest, Long Chen said. Perpetual Night Forest. Lu Ming took out a jade charm. This jade charm was the map of Jingtian Star. Lu Ming had the map of Jingtian Star a long time ago. He injected his divine power into the jade charm and a map appeared in the air. It was the complete map of Jingtian Star. Perpetual Night Forest is here. Long Chen pointed to a place on the map. All right. Lu Ming nodded and flew into the air. He then executed the Nine Heavens Kuanpeng skill and rushed towards Perpetual Night Forest at a shocking speed. Perpetual Night Forest was a famous place on Jingtian Star. There were many desolate beasts in this place but their levels were not high. It was suitable for people below the empty god realm to train and train. Huang Ling and Mullins had gone missing from this place. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. His divine power formed a Kuanpeng on the surface of his body. With a flap of his wings, he was 90,000 miles away. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at Perpetual Night Forest. Lu Ming did not hesitate and rushed into Perpetual Night Forest. He extended his spiritual senses and scanned his surroundings. The Perpetual Night Forest was huge, but with Lu Ming's speed, he quickly made a round trip. When the desolate beasts in the perpetual night forest sensed Lu Ming's aura, they all cowered in fear, not daring to show themselves. Soon, Lu Ming searched the entire perpetual night forest. He even searched the surrounding area. However, he didn't find any traces of Mulans and Huang Ling. How could this be? Could it be that they have already been eaten by the wild beasts? Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart trembled, unable to accept this result. No, let's search again. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and continued to search more carefully. That is, a few hours later, Lu Ming's expression suddenly changed as he made a discovery. With a flicker, Lu Ming rushed into the perpetual night forest and landed beside an ancient altar. This altar was indeed extremely ancient, and it was difficult to estimate what era it came from. It was made of mortar, and there were ancient symbols on it. Most importantly, on this altar, Lu Ming could feel the aura of Mulans and Huang Ling. What altar is this? Lu Ming sized it up carefully. Don't look. This is a teleportation array platform. In his sea of consciousness, the voice of the quantifying word formula resounded. Teleportation array platform? Why does it look like this? Lu Ming was surprised. It wasn't like he hadn't seen a teleportation array platform before. The teleportation array platform now didn't look like this. Moreover, it was made of mortar, which made it look too crude. It's normal that you don't recognize it. This is a very ancient teleportation array platform. It can even be considered as the earliest teleportation array platform. Nowadays, there are very few of such teleportation array platforms. Moreover, this teleportation array platform is already damaged. The quantifying word formula said. Damaged? That's right. If I'm not wrong, your two friends must have been teleported away from this teleportation array platform. The quantifying word formula said. Hearing this, Lu Ming was slightly relieved. Mulans and Huang Ling were only teleported away, which at least proved that they were still alive. Do you know where this teleportation array platform teleports to? Also, can this array platform be repaired? Lu Ming asked again. It can't be repaired. In today's world, there are very few people who can repair this kind of ancient array platform. Moreover, it's hard to know where they have been teleported to. There's a great possibility that they have embarked on an ancient starry sky road. The quantifying word formula said. Ancient starry sky road? Lu Ming was puzzled. The ancient starry sky road is a starry sky road opened by the ancestors of the primitive universe. I wonder where it leads to. Those who set foot on it may encounter a great crisis or may obtain a great opportunity. Everything depends on their own luck. The quantifying word formula said. I see. Lu Ming gave a long sigh, feeling helpless. Everything depended on Mulans and Huang Ling's luck. There was nothing he could do to help. Lu Ming returned to the Just Sky Army headquarters with a heavy heart. He told Autumn Moon, Long Chen, and the others about what had happened. Long Chen and the others also sighed. They hadn't expected to encounter such a thing. Following this, Lu Ming sat in the Just Sky Army headquarters and gave pointers to Lu Shenhuang, Autumn Moon, and his disciples. His disciples, Xiang Xiang and Ouyang Moli, also made rapid progress in their cultivation and displayed great talent. In fact, those who could rise up in a minor world wouldn't be lacking in talent. Once they came to the primitive universe, they would erupt. Lu Ming planned to bring Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, and the rest to the Kongxian sect to cultivate after he had established a firm foothold in the sect. With good resources, their cultivation progress would be faster. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. In this month, the Just Sky Army had completely controlled the territories of the Serene Hall, the Walkabout sect, and the Blood Red Society. They had become a powerful force in the vicinity. However, there were close to 1,000 forces in the chaotic galaxy. Forces were destroyed and new forces were established. The destruction of the Serene Hall and a few other forces didn't cause much of a stir. A month later, the ancestor of techniques returned to the Just Sky planet and met with Lu Ming. Lu Ming, did you see Yuexin in the Kongxian school? The ancestor of techniques asked Lu Ming with a hopeful look in his eyes. I knew it. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. He pondered for a moment and said, Senior, I did see Senior Yuexin, but, at this point, Lu Ming paused for a moment. But what? The ancestor of techniques' heart sank as he asked. Senior Yuexin already has a family. Lu Ming immediately told the ancestor of techniques what he knew. After the ancestor of techniques heard it, he fell silent. After a while, he sighed and said, Actually, I should have expected it. With my talent, how could I be worthy of Yuexin? It's good that she has a family. This is good, this is good. The ancestor of techniques muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with loneliness as if he had aged a lot in an instant. Senior, are you okay? Lu Ming asked with concern. He could understand how the ancestor of techniques felt. The woman he loved had married someone else. That kind of feeling was definitely not good. I'm fine. The ancestor of techniques smiled and said, This is good too. I can take good care of the Just Sky army in the future. Let's go, Lu Ming. Let's go to the dark underworld planet and have a look. Okay, let's go. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Chapter 2763. Planet Dark Underworld was the first planet with life that Lu Ming had seen in the primitive universe. The Heavenly Realm and Primordial Realm's Fiend God world was also attached to Planet Dark Underworld. Lu Ming had wanted to take a look at it for a long time. Previously, Planet Dark Underworld had been under the control of the Serene Hall. Now, it had become the territory of the Righteous Army. Planet Dark Underworld was not far from Righteous Planet. Soon, they arrived at Planet Dark Underworld. They landed on a mountain peak. There were already some people waiting on this mountain peak. Ancestor of Techniques, when they saw the Ancestor of Techniques, they immediately bowed to him. Come, let me introduce you. This is Lu Ming. He's the one who killed Kong Ji, Situ Haonan, and the others. The Ancestor of Techniques pointed at Lu Ming and introduced him. These people looked at Lu Ming with curiosity and shock in their eyes. Song Mo, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He saw Song Mo in the crowd. Back then, when he first came to Planet Dark Underworld, he had been chased by people from Yuluo Hall. Fortunately, Song Mo saved him and he managed to escape. Later on, Song Mo even instructed him to look for people from the Righteous Army. Hence, Lu Ming left Yuluo Hall and headed to the Righteous Army. Ha, Lu Ming, how many years has it been? I didn't expect you to have reached such a level. You killed Kong Ji with a flip of your hand. How satisfying, how satisfying. Song Mo laughed. Brother Song Mo, has the seal on your body been removed? Lu Ming asked with a smile. Yes, the seal was removed with Kong Ji's death. Song Mo smiled and said with a relaxed expression. Lu Ming, let me introduce you. These people came from the Heavenly Realm. They were all controlled by the Serene Hall. Now, they are free. Song Mo pointed at the people behind him and introduced them. In the past, those who had cultivated to the level of demigod in the Heaven Realm's Primordial Realm would leave the Heaven Realm's Primordial Realm and come to the untainted universe. However, without exception, they would be controlled by the Serene Hall and a restriction would be placed on their souls. Now that Kong Ji was dead, the restriction would naturally be broken. Greetings, seniors, Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. You're too polite, the younger generation will surpass us in time. Our Heaven Realm is really lucky to have such a genius. The others cupped their fists and said. Let's go and take a look at the Heaven Realm, the Ancestor of Law said. Everyone's eyes shone with hope. They were all from the primordial realm of the heaven realm, but they had been away for countless years and had never returned to see it. Naturally, they were looking forward to it. Everyone flew towards the entrance of the heaven realm. Soon, they arrived at the entrance of the heaven realm. Looking at the familiar place, Lu Ming sighed with emotion. However, it was a pity that Lu Ming could not enter the heaven now. Lu Ming was too strong now. His aura was strong and his divine power was terrifying. As for the heaven realm, it was just a small world. If Lu Ming were to enter, he might be able to tear apart the small kiliacosm or even shatter it if he were to release a wisp of aura or divine power. Only those below level 3 empty god realm could enter the small world. Or, when one's cultivation had reached an extremely high level, he could perfectly control every single trace of his or her chi, every single trace of his or her divine power. That way, he or she could also enter a small world. Now, Lu Ming could not do it. I can't go in. If you want to go in and take a look, then go in. The ancestor of law said. I'll go in and take a look. I'll go too. Suddenly, many figures flew towards the entrance of the heaven realm and disappeared into the heaven realm. Not long after, those people came out again. Luckily, everything is normal inside. It's just that there's a lack of people. Someone said. Lu Ming and the ancestor of law nodded. Back then, most of the living beings in the primordial realm of the heaven realm had been brought out. Naturally, there was a lack of people. They prepared to return to the Zhengtian army and let those who wanted to return to the primordial realm of the heaven realm to stay. Although the cultivation conditions in the primitive universe were many times better than the primordial realm of the heaven realm, there were still some who missed home and wanted to go back. After staying for a while, they left and returned to the Zhengtian army. After that, Lu Ming stayed on planet Zhengtian for a few months to guide Lu Xiangxiang, Ouyang Moli, and the others in their cultivation. With the resources provided by Lu Ming, everyone's cultivation improved greatly. A few months later, Lu Ming left planet Zhengtian with Autumn Moon and headed towards the Kongxian school. More than a month later, they returned to the Kongxian school. If it were other disciples of the Kongxian school, they would not be able to bring in disciples other than the Kongxian school. However, Lu Ming had the golden token given by Longhaoshan, so there was no problem. After returning to the Kongxian school, Lu Ming returned to his original residence in the outer sect area. Lu Ming is back. As soon as Lu Ming returned, the news of his return spread throughout the outer sect. Today, Lu Ming was simply a legend in the outer sect. Back in the Yulong secret territory, 9 of the top 10 empty god list teamed up and broke through to the true god realm. However, they were still no match for Lu Ming. Lu Ming's battle record was simply a legend. In less than a day, Huoquan came to find Lu Ming. Elder Huoquan, congratulations on becoming an inner sect elder. Upon seeing Huoquan, Lu Ming cupped his fists and congratulated him. This was because Huoquan's attire was different. Moreover, from the identity token hanging on his waist, he knew that it was not the identity token of an outer sect elder, but an inner sect elder. Lu Ming, you too. I'm here to congratulate you. Now that you've been promoted to an inner sect disciple, you can move into the inner sect area now. Huoquan laughed out loud. I've been promoted. Lu Ming muttered. This was within his expectations. Now that he had broken through to the true God realm, he naturally could not stay in the outer sect. It was normal for him to be promoted to an inner sect disciple. This was good too. In the future, he would not need to rely on a gold token to enter the inner sect. Lu Ming, follow me. Once the procedures are done, you can stay in the inner sect. Huoquan said. Elder Huoquan, I have a friend who wants to cultivate with me, Lu Ming pointed at Autumn Moon and said. Huoquan looked at Autumn Moon and smiled. This is simple. I'll help her with the procedures. In the future, she will be a disciple of the Kongxian school. After that, Lu Ming and Huoquan followed Huoquan to complete the procedures. After exchanging tokens, Lu Ming became an inner sect disciple and received a spacious courtyard in the inner sect area. The cultivation environment here was naturally better than the outer sect area. Autumn Moon, you're already a demigod. Next, you'll break through to the empty god realm. I'll bring you to the Holy Vein Tower to cultivate. Over there, you'll be able to break through to the empty god realm quickly. Lu Ming said to Autumn Moon. Yes, young master. Autumn Moon nodded her head obediently. After that, Lu Ming brought Autumn Moon to the Holy Vein Tower to cultivate. The news of Lu Ming becoming an inner sect disciple slowly spread in the inner sect area and caused a stir. Lu Ming was just a disciple who had just entered the sect. In just a few years, he had been promoted to an inner sect disciple. This cultivation speed was shocking and it was hard not to attract attention. Various factions in the inner sect area were discussing Lu Ming and paying attention to Lu Ming. Chapter 2764. A group of people gathered in a luxurious courtyard in the inner area. Surprisingly, Huang Wen was among this group of people. That Lu Ming is advancing at a terrifying speed. It's only been a few decades and he's already an inner disciple. A young man said in shock. He's a monster. When he grows up, he'll be a threat to the saint's position. We must get rid of him. Huang Wen gritted his teeth. Huang Wen, I heard that you and Lu Ming have a grudge. Because of this, Lu Ming killed many people from the Floating Light faction when he was in the outer area. Is that right? Someone looked at Huang Wen. These people were all from the Fuko Seiko faction and were experts in the inner area. That's right. Huang Wen nodded. Since there's a grudge, we must get rid of him as soon as possible. Send someone to keep a close eye on Lu Ming's movements. As soon as he leaves the Kongxian school, send someone to get rid of him. A young man looked at Huang Wen. Okay. Huang Wen nodded. A cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes, but there was a trace of fear in the depths of his eyes. Lu Ming's growth was too shocking, and it made him fearful. In another luxurious courtyard in the inner area, a group of people gathered together as if they were waiting for someone. Among them was the deacon of the outer area, Yu Zhong. These people were all from the Tenho Seiko faction. The saint is here. Suddenly, someone shouted. As soon as the voice fell, a few figures floated down from the sky. The leader was a handsome young man in luxurious clothes. He exuded a noble aura from head to toe. This person was the leader of the Tianhong faction, the Tianhong Saint. He was one of the 5 great saints of the Kongxian school. The Kongxian school had a total of 5 saints and 2 saintesses. He could be said to be one of the strongest among the disciples and had the potential to take over the position of the Kongxian school's sect master. In the Kongxian school, one could not become a holy son or holy daughter just because one could control a holy son or holy daughter. Controlling the holy divine power was only the most basic requirement. It also depended on one's cultivation, combat strength, and so on. Only when one met these requirements could one become a holy son or holy daughter. In order to become a holy son or holy daughter, one's cultivation had to at least reach the heavenly god realm. Greetings, Saint. Lu Zhong and the others immediately bowed respectfully. No need for formalities. I just came out of seclusion. Why are you looking for me? The Tianhong Saint said. Holy Son, it's because of an outer sect disciple. No, he's already an inner sect disciple now. A young man replied. A person who just became an inner court disciple? The Tianhong Saint looked puzzled. Did a person who had just become an inner sect disciple need to report to him? Holy Son, this person is a monster. His talent is shockingly strong. He has only joined the sect for a few decades, but he has already become an inner disciple. Moreover, his combat strength is shockingly strong. Lu Zhong stepped forward and described Lu Ming's performance during this period. After hearing this, the Tianhong saint frowned. This person is arrogant. Our Tianhong faction invited him to join us from the beginning, but he ignored us. I think he's very ambitious and wants to form his own faction in the future to compete for the position of sect master. Many people from our Tianhong faction died in his hands, including Ying Tsang. Lu Zhong continued. Ying Tsang is dead. The Tianhong saint's eyes flashed, and a cold murderous intent exuded from his body. Ying Tsang was ranked 4th on the virtual god list. He was very talented and could become a powerful subordinate when he grew up. However, he had died in the hands of Lu Ming. He wants to form his own faction. Kongxian School has 7 factions. That's enough. Also, since we've already formed a feud, we have to get rid of him as soon as possible. The Tianhong saint's indifferent voice sounded. Don't worry, Holy Son. I'll send someone to keep an eye on this kid. Once I have the chance, I'll personally take action and get rid of him. Lu Zhong said coldly. Good. With you around, I'm relieved. The Tianhong saint said. Then, the group began to discuss other matters. Lu Ming knew nothing about these. He and Autumn Moon were in seclusion in the Divine Vein Tower. The Divine Vein Tower was very useful to Autumn Moon. In less than half a year, Autumn Moon's aura had reached its peak and she began to break through to the virtual god realm. A few days later, Autumn Moon successfully broke through to LV1 virtual god realm. After Qiu Yu broke through, Lu Ming felt more at ease. He let Qiu Yu cultivate alone in the Divine Vein Pagoda. He left the Divine Vein Pagoda and headed to the Divine Skill Valley to cultivate his divine skill. Spring passed and autumn came. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. For the past 20 years, Lu Ming had no other distractions and focused on cultivation. His 3 divine skills had all made great progress. The 9 Heavens Kunpeng technique had reached the 4th level. The apocalyptic 3 strikes had reached the 4th level. The 9 layers of crimson gold armor had reached the 4th level. All of them had reached the 4th level. This was very shocking. The higher the level, the harder it was to cultivate the divine skills. Of course, the power would also be stronger. Many peak true god experts had only cultivated to the 4th level of their divine skills. Only some terrifying geniuses could possibly cultivate to the 5th level of a peak true god. Lu Ming had just broken through to the true god realm not long ago, but he had already reached the 4th level. Furthermore, he had 3 types of divine skills. If others were to find out about this, they would be shocked. At the same time, Lu Ming had also smelted 8 cold moon stones into the ice chain. The ice chain was officially completed and its power was shocking. In these 20 years, Lu Ming's cultivation did not improve. He was still at LV1 True God realm. However, he had completely stabilized and was slowly approaching LV2 True God realm. It was more difficult to improve in the True God realm and it would take a longer time. Moreover, Lu Ming had 5 divine fires. It would be harder for him to improve. It was normal for him to not have a breakthrough in 20 years. However, compared to 20 years ago, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by more than 1 level. It's a pity that the battle character formula has reached a bottleneck. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. He had almost reached 100% success rate in increasing his combat strength by 3 times. However, he still could not reach 4 times his combat strength. He had reached a bottleneck and tried all kinds of methods, but it was still difficult to improve. Lu Ming, the reason why you can't improve is because your divine body is not strong enough. At this moment, a deep voice sounded in Lu Ming's mind. It was the battle character formula's voice. The battle character formula had always been silent and rarely spoke. However, it spoke at this moment. My divine body is not strong enough? Lu Ming was stunned for a moment before realization dawned on him. The more combat strength the battle character formula could increase, the higher the requirement for the divine body. If the divine body was not strong enough, the battle character formula could not be used. That's right. It's just that your divine body is not strong enough. If you want to cultivate the battle character formula to increase your combat strength by 4 times, you must increase the strength of your divine body. Otherwise, you will never be able to increase your combat strength by 4 times. In the future, when your cultivation becomes stronger, you won't even be able to increase your combat strength by 3 times or 2 times. The battle character formula said. Divine body, how do I improve my divine body? Lu Ming furrowed his brows. When he came to the primitive universe, he realized that the creatures in the primitive universe focused on the cultivation of divine power. As divine power grew stronger, it would also subtly temper the divine body. Therefore, the higher one's divine body was, the stronger one's divine body would become. However, there were no divine techniques that specialized in improving the divine body. Chapter 2765. Looks like I have to flip through the books to see if there are any methods to increase the strength of my divine body. Lu Ming pondered. At this moment, a powerful aura was emitted from not far away. Lu Ming looked over. There was a round ball floating in the air, shining brightly. It was Qiuqiu. Looks like Qiuqiu is about to advance to the true God realm. Lu Ming smiled. Qiuqiu had consumed a large number of fragments of divine weapons over the years, and its level was constantly increasing. It was about to advance to the true God realm. Soon, Qiuqiu officially broke through. Its aura was strong, and it reached the level 1 true God realm. It then flew to Lu Ming and turned into a bracelet, hanging on Lu Ming's wrist. Lu Ming smiled and left. He went to look for books to see if there were any methods to increase the strength of his divine body. In the next few days, Lu Ming immersed himself in reading books. Finally, he found a method. Ancient God Flower. Lu Ming muttered. According to the books, there was a divine flower called the Ancient God Flower. It was extremely mysterious. After consuming it, one's divine body would continue to evolve and become stronger. However, the Ancient God Flower could only be found in one place in the entire Qin Tian star field, and that was the Ancient God Planet. According to the books, the Ancient God Planet was occupied by a race in the distant past. This race was known as the descendants of the ancient gods. They had the bloodline of the ancient gods, and their divine bodies were stronger than other races. Only this race knew how to plant the ancient God flower. This race was not considered a big race in the Qin Tian star field. It was just a small race. However, it had disappeared a long time ago. Of course, the ancient God flower had also disappeared. After flipping through so many books, this is the most reliable method. Let's try my luck. Lu Ming sighed and decided to try his luck at the ancient God planet. He could not give up on the battle word manual. This was the origin source ancient word, and it was priceless. If he gave up on the battle word manual, it would affect his combat strength greatly. Then, Lu Ming set off for the teleportation formation to the ancient God planet. Lu Ming is going out. As soon as Lu Ming went to the teleportation array platform, he was targeted. The two young men followed him from afar and arrived at the teleportation platform. Looks like I'm not the only one who wants to kill this brat. Hee hee. Another person was following behind the two young men. It was none other than Lu Zhong. Lu Ming knew nothing about this. He walked into the teleportation array and teleported away. Excuse me, where did that person teleport to? The two youths arrived at the teleportation array and asked a burly man guarding the teleportation array. "I'm sorry, I can't tell you where he's going," the burly man said. There were rules for them to guard the teleportation array, and that was to keep it a secret. "Let me tell you something. We were sent by Fuko Seiko. Now, Fuko Seiko wants to know where that brat went. Do you want to offend Fuko Seiko?" a young man said coldly. The burly man's face paled. He couldn't afford to offend a saint child. If he did, he wouldn't even know how he died. He's gone. The burly man trembled as he told them about Lu Ming's whereabouts. The two young men sneered, stepped into the teleportation array, and chased after Lu Ming. After the two young men left, Le Zhong came forward. He showed his identity as the Great Hong Saint. The burly man didn't dare to offend him and told him about Lu Ming's whereabouts. Le Zhong also stepped into the teleportation array and chased after him. Kongxian School couldn't go directly to the ancient god planet. He could only teleport to a nearby planet and fly there on an interstellar battleship. After more than a month of traveling, Lu Ming finally arrived above the ancient god planet. The ancient god planet was huge and slowly rotated in the starry sky. Lu Ming sat on the interstellar battleship and flew around the ancient god planet, observing it carefully. Legend had it that the descendants of the ancient god lived on a sacred mountain called the Ancient God Mountain. However, for some reason, the Ancient God Mountain suddenly disappeared from the ancient god planet and never appeared again. Lu Ming wanted to find the Ancient God Mountain because only the Ancient God Mountain had the Ancient God Flower. However, he took the interstellar battleship and circled the Ancient God Planet several times, but he didn't find the Ancient God Mountain. With no other choice, Lu Ming could only choose a random place and land. After entering the atmosphere, Lu Ming put away the interstellar battleship and flew towards a big city below. Not long after Lu Ming landed, two interstellar battleships flew over and landed. They were the two young experts from the Floating Lights sect and Le Zhong. Lu Ming landed in the big city. The big city was bustling with many races. People came and went, and it was very lively. A long time ago, the ancient god planet was under the control of the descendants of the ancient god. However, after the descendants of the ancient god planet disappeared, the ancient god planet fell into chaos. Countless forces were born, and they fought with each other until now. Have you heard? Another family was annihilated. I heard about it too. It's so tragic. The whole family was killed, not even a chicken or a dog was left. This is the fifth family to be annihilated in this area in the past 3 months. I wonder who did it? Why did they annihilate these families? These families are just small families. To be able to do this, it must be one of those big forces. Not long after Lu Ming entered the city, he heard people talking about him. Let me tell you. I heard a piece of news. It is said that all of this is because of the ancient god map. Suddenly, someone said in a low voice. Ancient god map? Others were puzzled. It's the ancient god map. Through this map, you can find the ancient god mountain where the descendants of the ancient god are. That person said again. What? You can find the ancient god mountain where the descendants of the ancient god are? Many people were shocked. Legend has it that the descendants of the ancient god have been annihilated for some reason. However, in the ancient god mountain, there are many treasures left behind by the descendants of the ancient god. It is said that whoever can find the ancient god mountain and obtain the treasures inside will be able to unify the ancient god planet and become the overlord of the ancient god planet. That's right. The ancient god map. Is it true? Many people were shocked and excited. It is most likely true. It is said that it appeared in the nearby area and was controlled by a family. That's why the families were annihilated one after another. That person said again. His words caused an uproar and the news spread further and further. The ancient god map can lead to the ancient god mountain? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It was better to come at the right time than to come early. Lu Ming did not expect to hear news about the ancient god mountain the moment he arrived. Since there are families that have been annihilated one after another, there should be another family that will be annihilated. I'll go to one of these families and wait. Maybe I can find some clues. Lu Ming thought for a while and then asked around. There were a total of 9 big families in this area. Previously, 5 families had been annihilated and there were still 4 families left. Let's go to the Fu family. Lu Ming randomly chose a family. After figuring out the route, he headed towards that family. However, after Lu Ming flew for a distance, 2 young men appeared in front of him and blocked his way. Chapter 2766. Who are you guys? Lu Ming frowned as he could feel chilling killing intent from the 2 youths. The ones who are going to kill you. A young man with 2 bull horns on his head said coldly. Swish. Then, his figure flashed and appeared behind Lu Ming, blocking Lu Ming's path of retreat. You guys are the disciples of Kongxian School? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he asked. Hee, you're smart. I'll let you die in peace. That's right, we're the inner disciples of Kongxian School and we belong to Fuko Seiko's faction. Do you understand? The bull-horned youth said coldly. Fuko Seiko's faction. So it's you guys. Lu Ming sneered as a chilling killing intent spread out from his body. There were only 2 factions that wanted to kill him in Kongxian School. One was the Floating Light faction and the other was the Great Sky faction. Kid, you want to kill us? You're just a level 1 true god and you want to kill us? What a joke. The bull-horned youth sneered and took a step forward. A violent aura soared into the sky. Level 7 true god. The bull-horned youth was a level 7 true god and the divine power that he controlled was king grade. His combat power was enough to fight against an ordinary level 8 true god. At the same time, the other youth also released a terrifying aura. He was also a level 7 true god. 2 7th level true god heavens chosen coming to kill a 1st level true god person, no matter how heavens chosen this person was, that was something that was in the bag. The gap was too big. No wonder they found it ridiculous when Lu Ming wanted to kill them. Kid, I'll send you on your way. Remember, the one who's going to kill you is Xiaofan. The bull-horned youth took a step forward and threw a punch at Lu Ming. What? Cow dung. Lu Ming almost laughed out loud when he heard the name. It was a good name. However, Lu Ming didn't have time to think as the opponent's fist force had already pressed down on him. Wang! A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand and he stabbed out. In the process of stabbing out, Lu Ming had already unleashed 3 times his combat strength. Boom! The long spear and the fist collided, causing a violent explosion, and energy overflowed in all directions. Then, the bull-horned young man took a dozen steps back, while Lu Ming only swayed a little. How is that possible? Your combat power. The bull-horned young man widened his eyes in shock. Lu Ming had actually gained the upper hand in a head-on collision. How was this possible? How could a 1st-level true god possibly have such powerful combat strength? The other youth also had a relaxed expression, but at this moment, he was no longer relaxed. His face was filled with seriousness. Clearly, Lu Ming's attack had frightened them. Kill! The bull-horned youth roared as a battle-axe appeared in his hand. The battle-axe carried a terrifying aura as it slashed towards Lu Ming. The bull-horned young man had already used his divine skill. Void piercing. Lu Ming also used his divine skill. Dang! This time, the bull-horned young man's body shook violently as he retreated again. Even after using his divine skill, he was still at a disadvantage. Ah, damn it, quick, let's attack together, let's attack together. The bull-horned young man roared. There was no need for him to shout. The other young man had already made his move. With a flash of his figure, he pounced on Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. A dazzling sword gleam burst forth and charged toward Lu Ming. Third destructive blow, void-piercing. Lu Ming brandished his spear once again. This time, 2 spear radiances burst out and charged towards his opponent. Dang! Dang! Both sides continued to exchange blows. 3 figures flashed in the air at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. To be honest, both of them were very powerful. They were 7th-level true gods and had mastered king-grade divine force. Even one of their divine skills had reached the 4th level. With the 2 of them working together, even Lu Ming would not be able to take them down easily. After exchanging dozens of blows, although Lu Ming had gained the upper hand, he could not completely suppress them. This person is too powerful. Let's retreat first and report this news to the Holy Sun so that he can send more experts to kill this kid. That's right. The bull-horned young man and the other youth communicated secretly. Both of their eyes were filled with deep fear. A 1st-level true god was actually able to suppress both of them. This kind of monstrous talent was simply unheard of. Even the Holy Sons were far from Lu Ming in a battle of the same level. Although the Holy Sons were strong, there was a limit. However, Lu Ming was simply abnormal. Let's go. The 2 of them took advantage of the time and quickly retreated, wanting to escape. Want to leave? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. Ice shackles. Then, with a thought, Lu Ming released 8 shackles from his body. That's right, there were 8 shackles. Lu Ming did not use his full strength. That most terrifying shackle, Lu Ming did not use it. However, these 8 ice shackles had been refined with the cold moon stone, so their power was equally shocking. The moment the ice shackles appeared, they were like 8 long snakes that danced in the air, entangling the 2 youth. Break! The 2 youth attacked frantically, wanting to break the ice shackles. However, when their attacks landed on the ice shackles were unharmed. On the contrary, the ice shackles emitted a terrifying chill that flowed through the divine artifact and entered the 2 youths' bodies. The 2 of them shuddered, and a layer of frost appeared on their bodies, wanting to seal them in ice. Ah! The 2 youths screamed desperately, using their full strength, but it was to no avail. They could not break the ice shackles at all. The ice shackles contracted, becoming tighter and tighter. In the end, they were tightly bound, unable to move. Kill! Lu Ming said coldly. His long spear pierced out, killing the 2 youth. With a wave of his hand, he kept the 2 youths' storage rings. Fuko Seiko. The cold light in Lu Ming's eyes became more intense. These 2 factions had repeatedly tried to kill him. In his heart, they were already sentenced to death. Sooner or later, he would destroy these 2 factions. Now that I'm using my full strength, I'm roughly equivalent to an 8th-level true god realm genius. After this battle, Lu Ming had a rough estimate of his own strength. If he used all his means, he estimated that he was comparable to an 8th-level true god realm expert with king-grade divine power. If he only had ordinary divine power, Lu Ming could even fight a 9th-level true god realm expert. Fighting a 9th-level true god realm expert as a 1st-level true god, it would scare people to death. In a flash, Lu Ming left the place. Not long after Lu Ming left, Le Zhong's figure appeared. At this moment, Le Zhong's eyes were filled with horror. In fact, he had seen the battle just now. The battle strength that Lu Ming displayed had deeply shocked him. Too terrifying. This kid's battle strength is too terrifying. Le Zhong muttered. Thinking back to the battle just now, the horror in his eyes grew. A first-level true god could actually kill two seventh-level true god realm geniuses. If he did not see it with his own eyes, he would not believe it. Chapter 2767. I don't know if this brat used his full strength just now. It's not wise for me to face him head-on. Lu Zhong muttered to himself. He was truly frightened. His cultivation was already at the peak of the 9th level of the true god realm, and his divine power was at the king grade. His combat strength was much stronger than the bull-horned youth, but he did not dare to make a move just now. He was not sure of Lu Ming's combat strength, and he was afraid that Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now. If Lu Ming had not used his full strength just now, he was not confident that he would be able to defeat him. I should hide in the dark and wait for an opportunity to strike. It seems like Lu Ming came to the ancient god planet to look for the ancient god's mountain. If the ancient god's mountain appears, I will be able to obtain a fortuitous encounter. Lu Zhong pondered and made a decision. He decided to hide in the dark and wait for an opportunity to strike. Lu Ming continued to head toward the Fu family. The Fu family was located in the middle of a mountain range. Even from afar, one could see the luxurious palaces built on top of the mountain peaks. Just as Lu Ming was about to fly forward, figures flashed from all directions. At the same time, sharp attacks flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming furrowed his brows and cast the 9-layered crimson gold armor. A crimson gold armor enveloped him. Pang! Pang! Those attacks were all blocked by the reddish gold armor. Shwa! Shwa! In a flash, a group of people surrounded Lu Ming, revealing fierce expressions. All of them stared at Lu Ming cautiously and fearfully. Who the hell are you? Why do you want to destroy my Fu family? A burly man roared. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. When did I say that I want to destroy you? Seeing that Lu Ming did not speak, another old man shouted, Don't waste time with him. If he wants to kill us, then we will kill him. Let's attack together and kill him. Kill! This group of people roared. There were at least a few hundred of them, and they attacked Lu Ming together. Among this group of people, the one with the highest cultivation was a level 4 true god. There were even many void god realm experts. Although there were many of them, they posed no threat to Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming did not have the habit of standing there and not fighting back. A long spear appeared in his hand. The long spear swept out, and a huge spear light crushed towards the crowd. Bang! 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 This group of people, regardless of whether it was 4th level true god or void god realm, they were all like one sandbag after another, being whipped flying by Lu Ming, falling all over the ground. How can he be so strong? Someone roared, his voice filled with despair as he glared at Lu Ming with venomous hatred. Hey, I have no enmity with you. It's fine if you attack me for no reason, but why are you looking at me as if you have a deep grudge against me? What do you mean? Lu Ming was speechless. No enmity? Are you not here to destroy my Fu family? An old man cried out. Destroy your Fu family? Lu Ming rubbed his nose and said, If I wanted to destroy your Fu family, would you still be alive? Everyone on the other side was stunned, and then they looked at each other. Indeed, with Lu Ming's strength, it would be easy for him to kill them. Just now, he had sent all of them flying with a single spear strike, but none of them were killed. If he wanted to destroy them, why would he do so? Then you are... The old man looked at Lu Ming uneasily, and his voice stuttered. He was afraid that he had angered Lu Ming and killed them. I heard that 5 families have been destroyed in the vicinity. I was curious and wanted to take a look at your Fu family. I didn't expect you to treat me as an enemy. Lu Ming smiled and did not mind. The other party was facing the danger of being destroyed at any time, so it was normal for them to be frightened. "Young hero, I'm sorry. We were rash just now," the fourth-level true god old man kept apologizing. "It's fine," Lu Ming waved his hand, and his face suddenly changed. He looked in a direction and said, "It seems that the people who want to destroy you are here." "What?" The Fu family old man's face changed, and he quickly looked in that direction. Swoosh! 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 In that direction, black shadows were flashing towards them. Their speed was shockingly fast. In a few breaths, these black figures arrived and surrounded the Fu family and Lu Ming. There were more than 200 of them. These people were all wearing black robes, and they gave off a mysterious and dangerous feeling. "Who are you? What do you want?" The Fu family old man asked in shock. "Hand over the map of the ancient god's mountain, and we can spare your lives," one of the black-robed men said with a hoarse voice. "What map of the ancient god's mountain? Our Fu family doesn't have a map of the ancient god's mountain." The Fu family old man roared. "No? Huh, you won't cry until you see the coffin. Then let's destroy the Fu family. We'll find it ourselves. Kill." The leading black-robed man waved his hand, and the 200 black-robed men moved. Their figures flickered, and they charged towards the Fu family at an extremely fast speed. "They're all experts." Lu Ming glanced at them and realized that these black-robed men were all experts. Most of them were True God Realm experts, and the strongest of them had reached the 5th level True God Realm. Their strength was far above the Fu family. "Defend, defend!" The Fu family old man roared, and the Fu family members formed a defensive formation. Although the Fu family had more people, their strength was far inferior to the other party. Lu Ming did not attack immediately. He wanted to let the Fu family suffer a little before he attacked. However, someone forced him to attack even though he did not want to. Kill! A third-level True God Realm black-robed man charged towards Lu Ming, and a cold blade light slashed towards Lu Ming, wanting to split Lu Ming in half. "I wanted to let you live for a while longer, but you're really courting death," Lu Ming said coldly, and stabbed out with his spear, killing the black-robed man. When the other black-robed men saw this scene, they were so frightened that their faces changed drastically. Kill! Lu Ming attacked. His figure flashed, and his long spear vibrated, and spear light shot out. The strongest of these black-robed men was only at the 5th level True God Realm, and the divine force they controlled was only ordinary. They couldn't withstand a single blow from Lu Ming. Puff! Puff! Every spear light took the life of a black-robed man. Over 100 spear lights shot out, and over 100 black-robed men were killed. Their corpses littered the ground. The scene suddenly quieted down. Whether it was the black-robed men or the Fu family members, they were all shocked. Run! After a few seconds, the black-robed men reacted and fled in all directions. They understood that they had encountered a terrifying expert, and if they stayed, they would all die. "You want to leave? Stay!" Lu Ming roared, and 8 ice chains flew out, rapidly lengthening. The sky was filled with ice chains, and they wrapped around the black-robed men. How could these black-clothed men avoid the attack of the ice shackles? They were all bound and frozen stiff by the terrifying coldness of the ice shackles. Chapter 2768. More than 100 men in black were all bound by Lu Ming's ice shackles. They were frozen stiff by the cold air. "Didn't you want to know who they are? I'll leave them to you now." Lu Ming looked at the Fu family members. The Fu family members seemed to have woken up from a dream. The level 4 True God Realm Elder walked over and stared at one of the black-clothed men. "Speak. Who are you? Don't even think about getting anything out of me." The black-clothed man said coldly. Humph. You're hiding in a black robe because you're afraid of being recognized. Let me see who you are. The Fu family elder waved his hand and tore off the black-clothed man's black robe, revealing the face of a middle-aged man. The Fu family elder was stunned when he saw the man's face. He was shocked and shouted, "It's you, Protector 19. You're Territorial Lord Yufeng's men?" The Fu family elder's voice trembled as if he was shocked. Territorial Lord Yufeng. It's Territorial Lord Yufeng. We're finished. We're finished. The rest of the Fu family members were also pale. They were terrified. Territorial Lord Yufeng? Lu Ming was puzzled. Young hero, it's like this. After many years of war, the ancient god planet has been divided into many territories. Each territory has a territorial master. Territorial Master Yufeng is the overlord of this territory. The Fu family elder explained. Lu Ming was enlightened. I didn't expect Territorial Lord Yufeng to send his men. I didn't expect, the Fu family elder sighed. The Fu family was just a force under Territorial Lord Yufeng. How could they go against Territorial Lord Yufeng? Now that Territorial Lord Yufeng had his eyes on them, the Fu family was doomed. Humph. Since you know we're Territorial Lord Yufeng's men, let us go. The 19 Protector said coldly. Since they had been recognized, there was no need to hide anymore. That's right. Let us go. The other black-clothed men also shouted. The Fu family elder and the rest of the Fu family members were hesitant. Just now, so many of their people died. Also, that so-called domain Lord Yufeng has his eyes on your Fu family. Do you think that if you let these people go, he will let the Fu family go? Lu Ming said calmly. Brat, you, the 19 Protectors and the other black-clothed men were shocked. That's right. Kill. Kill all of them and weaken domain Lord Yufeng's strength. The old man from the Fu family gritted his teeth and revealed a ruthless expression. You dare? The 19 Protectors were furious. Clang. With a flash of saber light, the Fu family's old man made his move and split the 19 Protectors into two halves. Attack! Kill them all! The old man from the Fu family roared. Kill! The people of the Fu clan all attacked the black-clothed men. Those black-robed men were all entangled by Lu Ming's ice shackles, unable to resist at all. One by one, they were killed. Soon, more than 100 black-robed men were all dead. Lu Ming waved his hand and put away the ice shackles. Young hero, may I invite you to the Fu family as a guest? The old man from the Fu family stammered. Next, the Fu family would definitely face domain Lord Yufeng's revenge. With the Fu family's strength, they would definitely not be able to withstand it. However, the strength that Lu Ming had just displayed was extremely shocking. To have such combat strength at such a young age, he was definitely not from the ancient god planet. He was most likely a genius from the Qin Tian star zone. He wanted to ask for Lu Ming's help. Perhaps he could help the Fu family overcome this crisis. What's the cultivation of domain Lord Yufeng? Lu Ming asked. I heard that he's a level 8 true god. The old man from the Fu family said. When he mentioned level 8 true god, his face turned solemn. And level 8 true god was not someone the Fu family could deal with. The strongest person in the Fu family was only a level 5 true god. Level 8 true god? Alright, I'll go with you. Lu Ming smiled. Lu Ming did not take the level 8 true god seriously. Even if it was a level 8 true god with king-grade divine power, Lu Ming would not be afraid. Unless he encountered a top-notch genius who had mastered a terrifying secret skill or whose divine power was sacred grade, Lu Ming would not be a match for him. Thank you, young hero. Hearing Lu Ming's agreement, the old man from the Fu family was overjoyed. The rest of the Fu family were also overjoyed. After everyone cleaned up the battlefield, Lu Ming followed the Fu family to the Fu family. When they arrived at the Fu family, a group of people came to welcome them. "Grand Elder, what's the situation? There seems to be a huge battle over there." A middle-aged man in luxurious clothes came over and asked the old man from the Fu family. The old man from the Fu family was the Grand Elder of the Fu family. "Patriarch, there was indeed a huge battle. The other party is Domain Lord Yofeng's men," the Grand Elder of the Fu family said. "What? Domain Lord Yufeng?" The Fu family's patriarch's face turned pale. "It was all thanks to young hero Lu Ming that we were able to survive." The Grand Elder of the Fu family immediately explained what had happened. After hearing the explanation, the Fu family's patriarch thanked Lu Ming profusely and treated Lu Ming as a distinguished guest. After that, Lu Ming stayed in the Fu family's residence. As for the Fu family, they were on high alert, waiting for the arrival of a powerful enemy. 3 days later, in the wee hours of the morning. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! A sharp voice broke the silence of the wee hours. A large number of people flew out of the Fu family's palaces and set up defensive formations, waiting for the incoming attack. "They are finally here," Lu Ming muttered. His body moved, and he flew out of his room and hovered in the air. He saw that the Fu family's residence was surrounded by a large group of people. A terrifying pressure surged toward the Fu family like a tidal wave. "Domain Lord Yufeng, it's really Domain Lord Yufeng," many members of the Fu family mumbled to themselves. Their faces were pale as they stared at an elder. This elder was wearing a golden robe and exuded a majestic aura. This person was Domain Lord Yufeng. Bam! Bam! Domain Lord Yufeng stepped forward, causing the sky to rumble. His divine power boiled, and his powerful aura formed a terrifying pressure that enveloped the sky above the Fu family. Many members of the Fu family trembled. They almost couldn't withstand the pressure. "Domain Lord Yufeng, may I know how my Fu clan offended you for you to come here with such a large force?" The Fu family's patriarch stepped forward and cupped his fists respectfully. "Why are you asking the obvious? Hand over the map of the ancient god's mountain and I can spare your life," Domain Lord Yufeng said coldly. "Domain Lord, the Fu family doesn't have a map of the ancient god's mountain. If we did, we would have handed it over long ago," the Fu family's patriarch said. He meant what he said. If he had a map of the ancient god's mountain, he would have handed it over immediately in exchange for the Fu family's safety. "Humph, you don't need to quibble. The map of the ancient god's mountain was made with soul gold. The soul gold has a special property, which is that it can sense each other. Even if you are far away, it can sense each other. I happen to have a small piece of soul gold with me. Through the soul gold, I can sense that there is soul gold in this area. Soul gold is extremely rare, and there isn't much of it on the ancient god's planet. There is a high possibility that it is the map of the ancient god's mountain," Domain Lord Yufeng said. Chapter 2769. After Territorial Lord Yufeng finished speaking, a purplish gold metal the size of a fingernail appeared in his palm. The metal was shining brightly as if it was resonating with something. Everyone finally understood why there were so many families being annihilated in this area. It was because Territorial Lord Yufeng had used the soul gold to sense that there was another piece of soul gold in this area. It was very likely to be the map of the ancient god's mountain. However, he wasn't sure of the exact location, so he went to search for it one by one. However, he was afraid of being criticized, so he ordered his subordinates to wear black robes and masks. But my Fu family doesn't have any soul gold," the Fu family head said with a helpless expression. Father, could it be related to the antiques I bought last time?" At this moment, a young man came to the Fu family head side and whispered. Antiques? The Fu family head was stunned. Yes, I bought a batch of antiques last time and wanted to see if they had any value. One of the scrolls had a similar color to this soul gold. The young man said. Territorial Lord Yufeng's eyes lit up when he heard the young man's words. What? There's such a thing? Quick, take it out. The Fu family head hurriedly said. Yes. The young man nodded and took out a storage ring. The storage ring glowed, and a pile of antiques appeared in the air. They didn't seem to have any spirituality, but they looked ancient and showed signs of age. One of the scrolls had a similar color to the soul gold, but it was much dimmer. When these antiques were taken out, the soul gold in Territorial Lord Yufeng's hand shone brightly. Then, the ancient scroll shone brightly and resonated with the soul gold. The map of the ancient God's mountain. It's really the map of the ancient God's mountain. Give it to me. Territorial Lord Yufeng laughed. The Fu family head hurriedly grabbed the map of the ancient God's mountain and said, Territorial Lord Yufeng, I'll give this map to you. You have to promise to let my Fu family go. Alright, I promise you. Give it to me now. Territorial Lord Yufeng said hurriedly. The Fu family head pondered for a moment and waved his hand. The map of the ancient God's mountain flew to Territorial Lord Yufeng and landed in his hand. After grabbing it in his hand, he hurriedly opened it to take a look, and his expression became even happier. I finally got it. Now, seeing that you have handed over the map of the ancient God's mountain, I will give the Fu clan a quick death. Domain Lord Yufeng said coldly. What? You? Didn't you say that you would let the Fu family off? You don't keep your word. The head of the Fu family roared. Trust? The last time I sent over 200 people, all of them died in your Fu clan's hands. If I don't destroy your Fu clan, how can I face my subordinates? Domain Lord Yufeng said coldly. His eyes were extremely cold. From the start, he had never intended to let the Fu family off. Yufeng, you're still as despicable as before. At this moment, a cold laugh came from the sky. It was filled with mockery. Who? Domain Lord Yufeng's expression changed as he looked at the sky. Yufeng, you can't even recognize my voice? That voice sounded again. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, several figures appeared in that direction. The leader was a skinny middle-aged man. Xiaofan, it's you. Domain Lord Yufeng's expression changed. Xiaofan Domain Lord, it's Xiaofan Domain Lord. Someone from the Fu family exclaimed. Looks like it's another Domain Lord. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Domain Lord Yufeng ruled this area, while Domain Lord Xiaofan should be the overlord of the other area. Of course it's me. Yufeng, do you think you can keep the map of the ancient God's mountain for yourself? Hand it over. Domain Lord Xiaofan said coldly. You think you can take the map of the ancient God's mountain from me by yourself? Dream on. Domain Lord Yufeng grabbed the map of the ancient God's mountain and waved his hand. He was about to put it into his storage ring. At this moment, a beam of light shot toward Domain Lord Yufeng's palm at an extremely fast speed. This attack came from behind Domain Lord Yufeng. It was from one of his subordinates. Domain Lord Yufeng did not expect his subordinate to attack him. He wanted to dodge, but it was too late. His palm was hit and exploded. The map of the ancient God's mountain flew out. Great Guardian, you're courting death. Domain Lord Yufeng roared. He circulated his divine power and quickly repaired his shattered palm. The person who attacked him earlier was the number 1 expert under him, a 7th-level true god existence. He was the head protector under him. The Great Guardian quickly retreated to prevent Domain Lord Yufeng from attacking. Ha ha ha, let me tell you. Your Great Guardian has secretly sided with me. Domain Lord Xiangshan laughed. He moved and pounced toward the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. You want to take my map of the Ancient Gods Mountain? Don't even think about it. Die. Domain Lord Yufeng roared and pounced toward the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. At the same time, he attacked Domain Lord Xiangshan violently. Domain Lord Xiangshan was fearless. He also launched an attack. The two of them collided and energy waves spread. Fortunately, the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain was made of soulpoint gold. It was extremely hard and was unharmed by the energy waves. Domain Lord Xiangshan was also a level 8 true god. His combat strength was no weaker than Domain Lord Yufeng. The two of them continued to exchange blows, but no one could gain the upper hand. For a while, neither of them obtained the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. However, at this moment, a figure appeared in the sky and pounced toward the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain at an extremely fast speed. He grabbed the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. It was a member of the Wings clan. He had a pair of green wings on his back. When he flapped them, his speed was shocking. Domain Lord Yuhan, it's you. Domain Lord Yufeng and Domain Lord Xiangshan shouted at the same time. They ignored the fight and attacked the member of the Wings clan at the same time. Another Domain Lord had arrived. It was Domain Lord Yuhan. Domain Lord Yuhan was about to get the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. However, Domain Lord Yufeng and Domain Lord Xiangshan attacked at the same time. He had to give up the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain and defend with all his might. Boom! Boom! Domain Lord Yuhan was pushed back. Domain Lord Yufeng and Domain Lord Xiangshan pounced toward the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain and engaged in a fierce battle. Domain Lord Yuhan's face darkened. He pounced forward as well. The three Domain Lords started to fight. Everyone wanted to get the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. However, no one could get it. The Fu family members were dumbfounded. They did not expect to attract three Domain Lords at once. The map of the Ancient Gods Mountain was flying around in the energy waves. The map of the Ancient Gods Mountain? Lu Ming muttered. He was tempted. Didn't he come here to look for the Ancient Gods Mountain? Hence, he wanted the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Lu Ming stepped forward and approached the battlefield. Chapter 2770. Coincidentally, when Lu Ming stepped out, the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain was agitated by the force and flew toward Lu Ming at lightning speed. Even Lu Ming was taken aback. He stretched out his hand and caught the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Kid, give me the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Hand it over. Territorial Lord Yufeng, Xiangshan Territorial Lord, and Yuhan Territorial Lord roared and pounced on Lu Ming. Lu Ming moved a few hundred miles away to avoid the attack. I want this map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Lu Ming spoke and kept the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain. Everyone was stunned and looked at Lu Ming as if he was an idiot. He wanted the map of the Ancient Gods Mountain? Did he think that the three territorial lords were just decorations? Was he courting death? Even the three territorial lords were stunned for a moment before they emitted cold killing intent. Kid, I've never seen anyone as stupid as you. Since you're courting death, I'll grant you your wish. Domain Lord Yufeng shouted coldly. His figure was like a bolt of lightning as he charged toward Lu Ming. He's mine. Don't even think about taking him from me. Territorial Lord Xiangshan and Territorial Lord Yuhan pounced on Lu Ming. They wanted to kill Lu Ming and take Lu Ming's storage ring. Do you really think I'm a pushover? Lu Ming sneered and a long spear appeared in his hand. At the same time, Lu Ming activated the battle character secret art to triple his combat strength. Sky-piercing. Lu Ming shouted and circulated the divine force in his body. He executed the first move of the 3 strokes of annihilation, sky-piercing. 3 spear radiances with terrifying power shot towards Territorial Lord Yufeng, Territorial Lord Xiangshan, and Territorial Lord Yuhan. Boom! 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 3 consecutive explosions. Territorial Lord Yufeng and the other 2 Territorial Lords were shocked. Their bodies trembled and they could not help but retreat. Lu Ming's body swayed and he took a few steps back. What? At the scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Lu Ming had actually blocked the attacks of the 3 region lords, and had even forced them back. How could Lu Ming have such powerful battle prowess? Previously, some people thought that Lu Ming was stupid, but now they realized that they were the stupid ones. Amazing, so amazing, the Fu family patriarch and the others were also shocked. Damn it, this brat, Domain Lord Yufeng and the other 2 couldn't hide the shock in their eyes. This brat is difficult to deal with. Why don't the 3 of us join forces and cripple this brat first? It won't be too late to snatch the map of the ancient gods' mountain later. Domain Lord Yufeng sent a voice transmission to the other 2 domain lords. Alright. I agree. The Xiangshan Territorial Lord and Yuhan Territorial Lord nodded in agreement. From the exchange of blows just now, they knew that they were no match for Lu Ming alone. Whoosh! 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 Domain Lord Yufeng and the other 2 moved. They formed a triangle and charged towards Lu Ming. Come on! Lu Ming said in a low voice. His long spear vibrated and swept out. Domain Lord Yufeng and the other 2 domain lords only had ordinary divine power. Although they were level 8 true gods, Lu Ming was not afraid at all. Boom! The thick spear radiance was like a mountain and blasted towards the 3 domain lords. The 3 domain lords also used their trump cards and the 2 sides engaged in an intense battle. Boom! 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 Explosions continued to occur in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sides had exchanged over 100 blows. This is great. Let's try out my new move. Third strike of extinction, moon slashing. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. The divine power in his body surged and surged into the long spear. At the same time, Lu Ming used the ice chains. A few chains swept towards the Xiangshan Territorial Lord and Yuhan Territorial Lord. As for Lu Ming himself, he used the second move of the third strike of extinction, moon slashing. When the third strike of extinction was cultivated to the 4th level, he could already use the second move, moon slashing. The power of this move was much stronger than the space piercing. Of course, the consumption of divine power was also much more shocking. However, Lu Ming had the quantifying character formula and did not care about the consumption of divine power. Swoosh! A spear radiance, like a crescent moon, attacked Domain Lord Yufeng. This is, Domain Lord Yufeng's pupils contracted rapidly. He could feel the terrifying power of Lu Ming's move. He roared and used all his strength to block the move. Boom! Puff! 2 strange sounds were heard. Then, Lu Ming's figure rushed past. Domain Lord Yufeng's body stiffened in the air and his face was filled with horror. Then, his body was torn apart and his soul was destroyed. At the sight of this, the Xiangshan Domain Lord and the Yuhan Domain Lord felt a chill run down their spines from the soles of their feet to the top of their heads. They were almost scared to death. They retreated frantically, distancing themselves from Lu Ming. The Territorial Lord is dead. The Territorial Lord is dead. Domain Lord Yufeng's subordinates immediately panicked and frantically retreated to distance themselves from Lu Ming. Did I say you can leave? Stop right there. Lu Ming looked at Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan. Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan were shocked and did not dare to stay. They immediately turned and ran. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He executed the Garuda technique and rushed towards the two like a Garuda. He overtook them in a few moves and stood in front of them. I asked you to stop. Didn't you hear me? Lu Ming said coldly. Young hero, I don't want the ancient god's mountain map anymore. Take it. Take it. Domain Lord Xiangshan hurriedly said as he broke out in cold sweat. If Lu Ming could kill Domain Lord Yufeng with one strike, he could also kill him with one strike. It would be strange if he was not afraid. Yes. I don't want it either. Young hero, take it. Domain Lord Yuhan hurriedly said. The ancient god's mountain map will be mine. You two, don't leave. I might need your help. Lu Ming said coldly. Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan did not dare to move. Then, Lu Ming took out the ancient god's mountain map and looked at it. There were many routes on the map that led to a mysterious place, the ancient god's mountain. I need you to follow me and find the ancient god's mountain through the map. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming was unfamiliar with the ancient god's planet. Even if he had the map, it would be troublesome to find it. It would be better to rely on Domain Lord Xiangshan and the others to find the ancient god's mountain faster. Lu Ming did not mind bringing Domain Lord Xiangshan and the others with him. He just wanted to get some ancient god flowers. He did not care about Domain Lord Xiangshan and the others. Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan's eyes lit up. They did not expect such a good thing to happen. If Lu Ming wanted them to find the ancient god's mountain, wouldn't that mean they could go in too? Their eyes lit up when they thought of this. Don't worry. We'll find it as soon as possible. Domain Lord Xiangshan and Domain Lord Yuhan nodded. Let's go. Lu Ming said and left with Domain Lord Xiangshan and the others. They did not stay in the Fu family. With Domain Lord Yufeng's death, the Fu family's crisis was resolved. Luck. Our Fu family is really lucky this time. Yes, we met young hero Lu Ming. God bless our Fu family. Young hero Lu Ming is our Fu family's savior. We must make a statue of him and worship him every day. Looking at the direction where Lu Ming left, the Fu family members were grateful. Chapter 2771. Lu Ming did not care about what the Fu family was thinking. In the following days, Xiangshan Domain Lord and Yuhan Domain Lord sent out a large number of people to search for the ancient god's mountain according to the map. After half a month of research, they finally determined the exact location. Lu Ming, Xiangshan Domain Lord and Yuhan Domain Lord brought some experts and rushed towards the destination. They did not notice that there was a figure following them from afar. That person was Lezhong. According to the map, the ancient god's mountain was located at the extreme north of the ancient god planet. On a deserted island in the extreme North Sea. When they arrived at the deserted island, they were stunned. Because this deserted island was desolate, there was no ancient god's mountain. Most importantly, there were already many people gathered here, standing around the deserted island, searching for something. Domain Lord Guanhao, Domain Lord Qiancheng, why are you here? Xiangshan Domain Lord exclaimed with his eyes wide open. Because he saw many Domain Lords here, and he recognized some of them. Xiangshan, you're here too. Looks like you've also obtained a map of the ancient god's mountain. A burly man chuckled. He was Domain Lord Qiancheng. What do you mean? You've also obtained a map of the ancient god's mountain? Xiangshan Domain Lord asked. That's right. A scroll appeared in Domain Lord Qiancheng's hand. It was exactly the same as the one Lu Ming had. This, Xiangshan Domain Lord, Yuhan Domain Lord and the others were dumbfounded. Ha ha ha, are you surprised? I thought there was only one map of the ancient God's mountain, just like you guys. Only when I came here did I know that there are many maps of the ancient God's mountain. Look, more than half of the domain lords are here. I'm afraid there will be more later. Domain Lord Xiancheng laughed. Lu Ming, Xiangshan Domain Lord and the others were speechless. After so long, there were many maps of the ancient God's mountain. Did you guys find the ancient God's mountain? Xiangshan Domain Lord asked again. This was what they were most concerned about. No, this place is just a deserted island. Even birds don't shit here, there's nothing here. Domain Lord Xiancheng said. Lu Ming's face darkened slightly. Nothing here? Wouldn't that be a wasted trip? However, how could they give up just like that? Immediately, they began to search the island carefully to see if they could find any clues. Sure enough, as time passed, more and more people came from all over the island. They were all area lords who had obtained the map of the ancient God's mountain and had rushed over. Strange, it seems that all these maps appeared at the same time. Otherwise, how could so many people coincidentally gather at the same time? Lu Ming frowned as he pondered. All of this gave him the feeling that it was being manipulated by someone. He wasn't the only one who had doubts. The others had doubts as well. However, the temptation of the ancient God's mountain was too great. No one left. Lezhong had already blended into the crowd on the deserted island. There were at least tens of thousands of people on the island, so no one would notice him. As the days passed, more and more people arrived at the island. According to Domain Master Xiangshan, most of the domain masters in the entire ancient God planet had come and they had brought a large number of experts with them. That's impossible. This map of the ancient God's mountain is made of soulless gold. Soulless gold is rare and precious to begin with. Who would spend so much money to play such a prank? Someone said. That was true. No one would spend so much money to play a prank on them because it was meaningless. The only explanation was that it was time for the ancient God's mountain to appear. That was why the map of the ancient God's mountain would appear all over the ancient God planet in such a short period of time. There are so many maps of the ancient God's mountain. Maybe it's meaningful. Why don't we take out everyone's map and see if there's anything strange? Someone suggested. Alright, I agree. I agree too. Many people nodded. Then, those who had the map of the ancient God's mountain took it out one after another. Lu Ming also took out his map. There were at least a few hundred maps of the ancient God's mountain. As soon as the maps were taken out, they resonated with each other and shone brightly. Buzz! Buzz! Then, these maps actually flew out and flew in the direction of the deserted island, stopping at a certain spot. The hundreds of maps formed a strange trajectory and spun rapidly in the air. Suddenly, numerous runes appeared in the void, covering the sky like a spiderweb. There's a reaction. Many people were overjoyed. If there was a reaction, it meant that the maps were real. More and more runes appeared in the void. In the end, the void started to spin and formed a dark vortex. Then, the vortex slowly became clear. Through the vortex, they could see the scenery behind the vortex. It was a sacred mountain. It was huge and towered into the sky. The ancient God's mountain. Many people were overjoyed. They had finally found the ancient God's mountain. A long time ago, it was the place where the descendants of the ancient gods lived. Legend had it that there were countless treasures inside. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. There was an ancient god flower in the ancient God's mountain. As long as he could obtain the ancient god flower, his divine body would be enhanced. He would be able to cultivate the battle character formula to quadruple his combat strength. Let's go. Someone could not wait any longer and rushed into the vortex. In a flash, he rushed into the vortex and appeared on the other side of the vortex. "It's okay. Quick, go. Go." Seeing that the people in front of them were fine, most of them could not wait any longer and rushed into the vortex. They were afraid that the treasures would be taken away if they were slower than the others. The Xiangshan Territorial Lord and Yuhan Territorial Lord did not care about Lu Ming and rushed into the vortex as well. Lu Ming also blended in with the crowd and rushed into the Ancient Gods Mountain. Hehe, I did not expect to encounter the legendary Ancient Gods Mountain on this trip to kill Lu Ming. This Lu Ming is really my lucky star. Lu Zhong sneered and rushed into the vortex. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the vortex, he appeared on top of a huge rock. Lu Ming looked ahead and realized that they had come to the middle of a huge valley. The valley was huge. It was at least 1,000 miles wide and there were cliffs on both sides that reached into the clouds. More than 10,000 of them had entered the valley. Swoosh! Swoosh! Many of them had already rushed into the depths of the valley. Lu Ming looked around and rushed into the depths of the valley. Boom! Suddenly, there was a violent explosion in front of them. A group of people were fighting fiercely. The ancient god flower is mine. Get lost. You're the one who should get lost. Angry roars were heard and Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The ancient god flower has appeared? Lu Ming dashed over quickly. True enough, he saw a dark red fresh flower growing in the crevice of a rock. The fresh flower was plump and glistening, emitting a strong energy wave. The ancient god flower. It was really the ancient god flower. It was exactly the same as what was recorded in the ancient records. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.